Chapter 1795. Madame Mai, Xie Danqiong's wife, was gentle and graceful. She seemed to be full of motherly warmth. She was the most suitable person to be the housekeeper of those children. WWWG. COM** in the blink of an eye, Tai Butian had made all the arrangements. Then, she briefly introduced the environment of the Heaven Imperial Court and called over a few people to be her attendants. After taking the money from Chu Yang, the ladies left in a hubbub and went to Purple Cloud City to make a big purchase. Is this okay? Chu Yang was a little hesitant. He looked at his surroundings, which had become empty in the blink of an eye. Trust me, don't worry. Tai Butian smiled. You're not a woman and you don't understand women at all. These things, including the purchase, price, needs, etc. If it were a man, he might not be able to do it without half a month's time. Even if he could do it, it might not be easy. But if it were a woman, it wouldn't even take half a day. It's easy. Tai Butian smiled. This is the fundamental difference between men and women. Chu Yang was stunned. He really didn't know this. Seeing that Chu Yang was in a daze, Tai Butian moved gently to his side and asked, "What about me? What do I do?" Chu Yang grinned and said with a smile, Your Majesty's task is to warm my bed. You don't have to worry about anything else." Tai Butian blushed at once. She spat. You're not serious at all. Her eyes were like spring water as she glanced at him. Just like that, Chu Yang was intoxicated. Even though Tai Butian's face had also been darkened by now, the way her eyes twinkled still made Chu Yang's soul almost leave his body. This was the first time Tai Butian looked at someone with that kind of feminine gaze. Chu Yang didn't expect that the dignified and solemn emperor could also look at him like that. He didn't have any resistance at all. He went limp at once. After calming himself down, Chu Yang recovered a little. He said, Butian, actually, what I want you to do is the most important. What is it? Asked Tai Butian. In the future, no matter where our forces develop, Chu Yang said seriously, we need someone to control the overall situation, and this person can't be me. Tai Butian frowned. What kind of person was she? She knew what he meant just by hearing his words. You're planning to. Right now, we don't have any generals as our vanguard, so at this stage, we still need to charge and break through enemy lines and seize territory. However, those who control the overall situation in the rear are also a heavy burden. Chu Yang gently exhaled, I want you, here. Just like in the lower three heavens, he would become an emperor. Take control of all our forces. Chu Yang looked deeply into Tai Butian's eyes. One day, in this celestial imperial court, we will also rule the world. Tai Butian's heart trembled. Chu Yang's ambition was actually so great. This was not the Double Heaven continent. This was the Double Heaven Imperial Court, where experts were as common as clouds. Overlooking the world. Was it really possible? Nothing is absolute in this world. If he dared to think about it, he was already halfway to success. In the future, we will definitely have to fight against the extraterrestrial demons. Therefore, it is necessary to have a strong and powerful force as a backing. It must be under our complete control. During the battle, we can't rely on the Heavenly Imperial Court Saint. Even, we can't rely on Xue Leihan. In a life and death situation, we can only rely on ourselves. Chu Yang's voice was very heavy. He said, back then, the Heavenly Emperor of the Purple Clouds was so powerful and awe-inspiring. Even with everything he had, he still couldn't resist the extraterrestrial demons. We must at least develop until we are stronger than the Heavenly Emperor of the Purple Clouds and possess greater strength. Only then can we dare to say that we will fight the extraterrestrial demons. Otherwise, it will just be a farce. I understand. Tai Butian's eyes shone brightly. She said gently, as long as it is what you need, I will do my best. Even if you want the entire Double Heaven Imperial Court, I will think of a way to take it down for you. Chu Yang looked at her lovingly and said, this will be very, very hard on you. It's been hard on you. Tai Butian smiled slightly and said, compared to when you first arrived at Iron Cloud and faced Diwu Qingru. Was it harder for me then? Now, at least I still have you. Chu Yang laughed, his heroic spirit instantly rising. Yes, even though it was tough now, it was still much easier than when Tai Butian was at that time. When I came up with you, I originally thought that I had fulfilled my life's wish. Tai Butian smiled and said softly, Chu Yang, actually, my wish has always been not to rule the world or to become some kind of ruler. I just want to be a little woman by your side. Tai Butian said softly, this is my life's wish, to follow you and be a little woman who follows her husband. Her eyes looked somewhat deeply into the distance. Finally, she said, however, since I have followed you, I will work hard for our lives together with you. If you want to be grand, I will accompany you to fight the Heaven Wasteland domain. If you want to achieve great ambitions, I will accompany you to rule the world. If you want to fight the extraterrestrial demons, I can only laugh proudly in life and death with you. A warm current surged in Chu Yang's heart. He said, it is destined to be hard for you to follow me. Tai Butian said quietly, but, after all, we will be together. Whether it is life and death, peace and happiness, or wandering about. Chu Yang breathed a sigh of relief and said, yes. Tai Butian smiled and slowly took out the indiscernible illusion jade from her own ring. She said softly, since I am going to become an empress or some kind of leader, I cannot be a woman. In the afternoon, I will list out the preliminary plan for you to see, including the various levels of the system and how to develop it. You can add after you see it and we will discuss and finalize it. Chu Yang blinked and said, don't wear that first. What for? Tai Butian frowned and looked at him in confusion. Cough cough. It has been such a long time. I really miss your Majesty's body. Chu Yang winked. Let me have a private chat with your Majesty first. Tai Butian's face turned completely red at once. She turned around and was about to escape when Chu Yang grabbed her. Without any explanation, he carried her into his room. Bang! The door was closed. No. It is still daytime now. We can't do it in daytime. Tai Butian pushed Chu Yang's body with all her might and pleaded, how about at night? So what if it is daytime? Can't I report to your Majesty during the day? Human relations are the most important. Everything else can stand to the side. Chu Yang's body pressed heavily against Tai Butian's soft and delicate body. His mouth was wide open and he was kissing and sniffing everywhere. His hands had already slipped inside and were caressing Tai Butian's smooth and creamy body. No. I'll go wash my face first. Tai Butian refused. There's no need for that. Your Majesty is very clean. Chu Yang had already taken off all his clothes by now. He reached out and tore off the last piece of clothing on Tai Butian's body. Then, he pressed his body against hers. Your Majesty. I'm coming. Please spread your legs apart, Your Majesty. It's so slippery. Following Tai Butian's feeble moans, I'm officially working hard for the Emperor. Cough cough. I'll omit 3 million words here, by the time the few women returned with the majestic purchasing team. The sky had already darkened. One could look down on women's other abilities, but one absolutely could not underestimate their shopping prowess. Buying the most, best and most suitable items with the least amount of money was originally a woman's innate skill. Any woman had this great ability. As far as the eye could see, rows and rows of horse carriages entered the Li clan courtyard like a long dragon. Of course. Now, it was no longer appropriate to use the name Li clan courtyard, because Divine Dr. Chu had officially become the owner of this place. This place should be called Chu Clan Courtyard. Huyen Aobo and the others began to do their own things. They each divided their own areas. Everyone was exceptionally smart and did things exceptionally quickly. In just a short period of time, they each divided their own areas. Everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. There was absolutely nothing that was overstepped. But it was definitely not too little. It was just right. It was believed that even if Tai Butian personally divided the distribution, location, size, and personnel, she could at most arrange it to this extent. Everyone was very clear in their hearts. Although this place was nominally the Chu clan, in fact, the brothers still had to gather here in the end. This place was also the common family property of all the brothers. This place was the foundation. This place was everyone's home. the place where the most original base was located. So, everyone was very active. They did their best to complete their own work. Besides, it was their first time here. Every place in this heavenly imperial court was filled with novelty. The brothers' wives were all dazzled for a moment. With such a good place, they naturally had to walk around more. They didn't want to stay in that strange space anymore. At night, the Chu clan courtyard held a big banquet for the first time. Nominally, it was for the completion of the Chu clan courtyard. In fact, it was naturally to welcome the arrival of the girls. Chu Yang and Tai Butian attended. Originally, they had intended to invite Yang Russian and Shifty Guy. But when the two saw that the table was full of girls, and all of them were ugly girls, they straightforwardly declined the invitation. They ordered wine and dishes and drank together. The two of them drank and chatted. Their hearts were filled with astonishment. Is there something wrong with Chu Yang's head? Is it because of his martial arts that he suffered too much of a blow? The timing doesn't match. I think he has known these girls for quite a long time. Maybe there's something wrong with his sense of beauty. No one is too perfect. He has a handsome appearance and a strong physique. He's young and talented. But he lacks a proper sense of beauty. God is still very fair. Indeed. Actually, these girls' figures are quite good. It's just that they're a little tanned and ugly. That's why I said there's something wrong with Chu Yang's sense of beauty. He likes girls like this. Everyone has their own preferences. Sigh, compared to those girls, I suddenly feel that my fiancée is actually a very good beauty. I kind of miss her. What? You have a fiancée? Someone like you actually has someone with your looks. You didn't snatch her away, did you? Quick, tell me in detail. Sigh, I didn't snatch her away. In fact, she was the one who forced me. Ah, is your fiancé blind? What do you mean by that? What can I mean? It's a rational analysis. Isn't it the truth? When you recover, I want to fight with you. You, back then, I. Chapter 1796. Yang Russian and Yang Russian started the conversation. As they drank more and more wine, their tongues got bigger and bigger, and the topic naturally got further and further away. On the other side, when Chu Yang brought Tai Butian out, everyone had a strange look in their eyes. Tai Butian had already tried her best to control herself when she walked out, but her legs were still a little weak. Sitting there, she didn't seem much better than a puddle of mud. The girls were all experienced, and they sized up Tai Butian's face and body meaningfully. Tai Butian hung her head low, and even her neck was red. Then, the girls' faces also turned red. So, no one spoke during the meal. They all ate in silence, drank in silence, and picked up food in silence. After the meal, the girls ran away as if they were running for their lives. Tai Butian pinched Chu Yang hard, and she was so embarrassed that she almost went crazy. It's all your fault, all your fault, all your fault, Chu Yang laughed. That night, Chu Yang called the girls for a meeting again. Everyone was given a few elixirs to increase their cultivation. Chu Yang did this because he wanted these girls to break through to the supreme level in the shortest time possible. At least they had the ability to protect themselves, and the stronger they were, the better. In the heavenly continent, there were heavenly restrictions, and it wasn't advisable to increase one's cultivation too much. But in the heavenly imperial court, such restrictions were much less. At least before reaching the human level, there weren't too many restrictions. At the very least, there was too much buffering, which could dilute the drawbacks of such rapid improvement. The sky was endless. This was the evaluation of cultivation in the heavenly imperial court. In addition to increasing one's cultivation, one also had to change one's original aptitude. Chu Yang's spring of life, Shenyan bone-destroying water, and other rare resources could really show their original effects in the heavenly imperial court. That night was a night of improvement that no one knew of, but had a profound and far-reaching impact. Chu Yang had already decided to invest all the resources he had in an all-round way, regardless of the cost. He had to achieve the most ideal and best result. Everyone was silently improving their cultivation in their own rooms. On the roof of the core of the Chu clan's courtyard, a small white figure squatted quietly under a hidden roof somewhere. Although the white figure was only the size of a palm, it was fully focused at this moment. Brother Who released a huge amount of spiritual energy to completely seal off the entire Chu clan's courtyard. This was its home ground. If by chance, someone dared to come and make trouble tonight, Brother Tiger will kill him mercilessly. Even more coincidentally, Yang Russian and Creepy Cat drank until they were sober than a drunken cat. Once again, they missed the chance to experience a certain brother's terrifying power. Why did he say again? In any case, he had missed it. The night passed peacefully and quietly. Dawn. The aura of a breakthrough shot up to the sky, but it was suppressed by Brother Tiger's powerful spiritual power, not allowing it to spread out. Under Chu Yang's generous support, the girls broke through one after another. Hearing the surprised cries of the girls below, Brother Tiger, who was on the roof, curled his lips in disdain. Is this achievement worth being happy about? Aren't you embarrassed? Have you seen the world? Do you have some knowledge? Could he still be a little more promising? How shameful, how shameful. Originally, Chu Yang had already laid down an extremely solid foundation for Tai Butian. When she was in the upper three heavens, her strength had already broken through to first-grade supreme martial artist. This time, under Chu Yang's unstinting efforts, Tai Butian directly advanced by 3 levels. This progress was not as fast as Chu Yang's, but compared to people who had just ascended from other continents, she could already be considered as a powerhouse. It was the same for Xie Danfeng and the other girls. The ones with the weakest foundation were probably Ao Sheyun's 2 wives. After this night of improvement, they had barely reached the martial saint level. Well, this martial saint level was the standard of the martial saint level in the Heaven continent, not the martial saint level in the Heaven Imperial Court, in the wee hours. Chu Yang gave Yang Russian another round of acupuncture before he slowly made his way to the kitchen. Many people were busy working in full swing. They had to cook for more than 1,000 people at once. This was not an easy task. In addition to having enough manpower, they also had to have enough cooking equipment. And the location. On one side, there were 10 big pots. In the big pots was the rice soup that Chu Yang had specially requested. Chu Yang had set a rule: everyone, every meal, must drink the soup. Those who did not drink it would be expelled forever. To be honest, this rice soup was almost the most delicious food for these poor teenagers. How could they not drink it? Seeing that the rice soup was bubbling, it looked like it was about to be cooked. Chu Yang walked around the 10 cauldrons and silently added some special things into the spring of life in each cauldron. Then, he added a heavy pill into each cauldron. These teenagers were the development targets of Chu Yang's plan. They were the key aids to his future development. To be honest, these people's aptitudes were not very good. But then again, if they were good, even if they were beggars or orphans, they would have been recruited into some sects long ago. Not good aptitudes. Not afraid. Because Chu Yang had something that could defy the natural order, the heavy pill. This was a treasure that could change one's aptitude. Back then, Mo Qingwu only had 1 heavy pill, and because of that, her aptitude turned into a treasure. Although these little fellows were eaten by 1,000 people, their aptitudes should become very impressive after a few days. At least, they would have the aptitudes of a human or better. Once they got better, it would not be a rare thing for them to become excellent aptitudes. The scene of 1,000 people eating at breakfast, in Chu Yang's eyes, and in his ears, the sound of 1,000 people eating together could only be described as magnificent. Even with Chu Yang's calm temperament, he could not help but feel a cold sweat on his back. Half-grown people die of old age. This was truly a wise saying. Chu Yang felt that these words were too reasonable. These little fellows were basically in an atmosphere of hunger and cold before. Now that there was delicious food in their hands, not only could they eat, but they could also eat as much as they wanted. Their eating and drinking speed was naturally not bad, almost comparable to a martial arts master's fight. Everyone's eyes were looking at Chu Yang with respect and gratitude. Being young was not a problem. Surviving in this cold and heartless world made these little fellows mature very early. Everyone knew that if it was not for Brother Chu Yang in front of them, they did not know what kind of miserable end they would have had. Everyone was also grateful from the bottom of their hearts. The grace of saving their lives, the grace of saving their lives. From the beginning to the end, Chu Yang almost did not say anything, but he had already won the heartfelt love and respect of these little fellows. After eating, they began to distribute their work. Except for the little fellows under 10 years old, the rest who had a certain amount of physical strength were distributed to different positions. Looking at the few women calmly distributing tasks, Chu Yang could not help but want to laugh. Group by group, they left the dining hall in an orderly manner. Chu Yang returned to the meeting hall and immediately found someone to arrange to demolish all the land and houses that he had bought at the beginning of the men's hall to build a unified big courtyard. Money made the world go round. As the money was in place, the new construction began. At present, Chu Yang was not short of money. Naturally, he could not scrimp on the money that should be spent. The former Li clan courtyard, the current Chu clan courtyard, was still in full swing. All the gardens, ponds, and rockery were raised. Rooms rose from the ground one by one. The courtyard walls were thickened and raised to the maximum. Chu Yang, no matter how thick and tall this thing is, it won't be of much use. Fishy Guy was full of doubts. If an expert comes, it will be useless. If an expert comes, he can punch a hole in one punch. For example, if it's me, I can collapse it with a few slaps. I have my own plans, Chu Yang said lightly. But in his heart, he was thinking, punch a hole in one punch. Collapse it with a few slaps. How can it be so easy? The courtyard walls that I, Chu Yang, have supervised in building are not really completed yet. When it's completed according to my plan, even you, a heaven-level expert, may not be able to make a hole. Let's wait and see. Just as they were chatting, suddenly, a loud roar came from the direction of the gate. Chu Yang! Chu Yang! Divine Dr. Chu! Brother Chu! My good brother! Then, a large group of people rushed in. The first person was the city lord, Dong Lai. When he saw Chu Yang, he rushed up and held Chu Yang's hand, shaking it vigorously. Brother, 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 you're really too. His excitement was evident in his words. Chu Yang was shaken to the point that he could not stand steadily. He cursed in his heart. Damn it, so what if your cultivation is high? When your old cultivation is high, I'll shake you to pieces. The city lord couldn't help but be excited. How could he not be excited? Last night, after taking Chu Yang's medicine, the city lord had regained his former vigor. In one night, he had ruthlessly dealt with that bitch who had always looked down on him and didn't dare to face her for some reason, for an entire night. Seeing her begging for mercy under his body, the city lord's heart was filled with satisfaction. In the end, it became an interrogation. Do you still dare to look down on me? Do you still dare to do that? Do you still dare to do that? Until the early morning of this day, the city lord finally got up from the mud-like body and roared to the sky. Old. I can do it again. I'm even more powerful now. It's really fucking cool. After tasting this extreme happiness and satisfaction again, the city lord came over to thank Chu Yang at the first moment. If it wasn't for Chu Yang, my generation. Thinking of this, the city lord's hair stood on end. Fear, fear, panic, please don't let that sad feeling come again. You're welcome. Chu Yang laughed heartily. Treating the city lord's injuries is also my duty as a doctor. As he said, he lowered his voice and said, but the treatment will continue for half a year. Make sure to do it once every half a month. Don't miss it. Yes, yes, yes. The city lord laughed and said incoherently. He waved his hand and said, today, I've brought people to congratulate you on your move. Brother Chu has officially settled in our Xixia city. It's a great joy. Ah? That's great. Please, please, please come in. It is my honor to be honored by your presence. Chapter 1797. Today, there was another big banquet, singing and dancing to celebrate the peace. If not for Chu Yang's insistence, the city lord would have made Chu Yang bow to him. Of course, the city lord was also here to collect debts. He had only reached his goal yesterday and hadn't started collecting money yet. Chu Yang paid the money without hesitation. Now that the city lord had food in his hands, he was no longer anxious. He happily drank until he was dead drunk. After sending off wave after wave of people who came to congratulate me, it's already night time again. Fishy had returned to his seclusion. This fellow had noticed that his fiancée was about to arrive. Although he seemed to be looking forward to it yesterday, he had drunk a lot of wine and was now hiding in his room every day. He didn't even want to come out of his room, let alone go out. For the convenience of teaching, his room was set up in a small room in the hall. It was small, but it was connected to the Lee family's library. Fishy went in and forgot about his meals and sleep. He had finally found a good place to go. Yang Russian immediately used his energy to call for Chu Yang. Chu Yang hurried over. Something's not right. Could it be that my spiritual sense is affected by my injuries? Yang Russian frowned deeply. The shit that these fellows watched yesterday was all rubbish. They can't even be considered mediocre. Why is there an improvement today? A few of them are even better than average. How did this happen? Chu Yang was elated but pretended to be confused. Oh, really? It seemed that after 3 to 4 consecutive meals, there was an effect. My spiritual sense shouldn't have such a big flaw. Don't tell me you used some special method. Yang Russian looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. Chu Yang repeatedly cried out, if I had such a heaven-defying method to change someone's aptitude, I would have used it on ZJ first. Others may not know, but Brother Yang, you should know my situation. Yang Russian pondered for a moment. What he said did make sense. This fellow's Dantian was worse than trash. If he really had such a method to change someone's aptitude, he would have used it on ZJ long ago. Me. What the hell is going on? Is there really something wrong with my spiritual sense? Otherwise, why would so many people be mistaken? Yang Russian was perplexed. Even in his wildest dreams, he would never have imagined that there would be such a huge change. Big Brother Yang, what do you think? Chu Yang pondered for a while and said, these little guys originally had good aptitudes. But, because of years of poverty and hardship, the potential of their bodies has been slowly eroded or covered up by external factors. After eating and drinking to their fill today, their nutrition has caught up. Start to reveal itself slowly. You didn't see it before, not because there was a problem with your spiritual sense, but because you were deceived by the illusion. Yang Russian furrowed his eyebrows. What's this? There have been precedents where someone's spiritual perception could be deceived. Chu Yang curled his lips and said, that's hard to say. Nothing is absolute in this world. If we really want to check one's aptitude, at the very least, we'll have to wait for a few days until their body's nutrition returns to normal. Only then will we be able to see their true quality. These few days will be the best time to replenish their bodies. Perhaps there will be some deviation. You don't have to worry too much about it. I believe that the problem won't lie with you. Yang Russian nodded. Before they could find out the exact reason, Chu Yang's statement was probably the closest to the truth. Then we'll wait a few days and see. Maybe the heavens will bless the good. Maybe you'll be able to take advantage of the situation. Yes, I'll take your blessings. Oh yes. How many days will it take for Big Brother Yang to fully recover from his injuries? About 7 to 8 days. Yang Russian smiled. Today's sex is a lot lighter. I can gather a certain amount of heaven and earth's essence energy. Ordinary activities won't be a problem anymore. That's great. Brother Yang, after you recover, don't forget about Wang Dao. Chu Yang chuckled. So that's what you had in mind. I really thought that you cared about your big brother Yang. Sigh, I'm so disappointed. Hihi, for the next few days, orphans from the surrounding areas of Zixia City flooded in. Chu Yang, who was not short of money, continued to open the doors for the orphans. So far, he had taken in more than 5,000 orphans. Zixia City was originally a neighboring area. The 5,000 orphans were basically all taken in. Only then did Chu Yang stop the expansion. He served these little ancestors with delicious food and drinks. His face was full of smiles. This was all part of Chu Yang's grand plan. At night, the spirit beast game was held again. The Jin clan and Wu clan were unhappy with Chu Yang's rapid rise. However, Chu Yang never came to places like the beast fighting arena. The two clans were very depressed about this. They grabbed Jin Yotsai and insisted on a spirit beast fight to vent their frustrations. Great philanthropist Jin put out a huge bet of 5,000 zixia dollars. You want me to vent my anger? Sure, as long as you have the money. Brother who played the pig to eat the tiger for 2 consecutive rounds. Although he was covered in injuries and was in an exceptionally tragic state, he won a total of 17,000 zixia dollars for Chu Yang. Yes, including the peripheral bets. The two clans complained about this result. Their desire to target Jin Yotsai became stronger and stronger. They wantonly mobilized their own financial reserves and did not hesitate to fight. However, Jin Yotsai never showed up again. It was as if he had disappeared from the world. For 3 consecutive days, the progress of the Chu clan's compound was officially on the right track. Other than the fact that there were still high-level martial artists in charge, everything was basically in order. All the adopted orphans were basically above the age of 5 and below the age of 15. Chu Yang directly divided them into groups according to their age. The 5-year-olds were in one group. The 7-year-olds were in one group. The 8-year-olds were in one group. Yes, the 15-year-olds were in one group. Chu Yang's current target was the oldest groups of 14 and 15-year-olds. The other groups were too young. They could not even be considered as teenagers. They had other uses in Chu Yang's plan. Brother who appeared and disappeared more and more mysteriously these few days. Other than asking Chu Yang for purple crystals on time, he did not show his face much. He also did not say anything when Chu Yang asked. Finally, tonight. What? The purple crystals are gone. How can they be gone? Brother who looked at the purple crystals in front of him, which were less than half of what they used to be. He could not help but feel a little disappointed. They're gone. This time it's real. Chu Yang also heaved a sigh of relief. They were finally gone. Who would have thought that more than 1 billion purple crystals would be completely swallowed by this palm-sized fellow in just a few days? Chu Yang was surprised that these purple crystals could at least last 10 days to half a month. Now that he thought about it, ZJ was too optimistic at that time. How can they be gone? Why didn't you store up more purple crystals? Brother who was a little dejected. Over the past few days, his injuries had been recovering at a rapid pace. Why did it suddenly stop? Yes. The purple crystals are indeed gone. But I still have a lot of purple crystal cores. Can you make do with it? Chu Yang blinked and lowered his attitude. What? Purple crystal cores? Make do? You can really make do. Brother whose eyes turned into purple crystal cores. Is what you said true? Where have you been these few nights? As long as you tell me, I'll give it to you. I'll let you make do with it. Chu Yang still could not understand. This fellow was supposed to be following ZJ. Why did he disappear these few days? Aren't you going to make do with it? Brother whose eyes widened. It seemed that Chu Yang should make do with it. Should I make do with it? Chu Yang was puzzled for a while. I'm really not stupid. How can I still be puzzled after thinking for so long? I even bothered to ask you. Am I crazy? Brother who instantly flew into a rage and roared. I've been working for you these few days. I've been working myself to death. You're having fun with your wife, and now you're questioning me. Do you still have some conscience? Oh heavens, oh earth, is there still any justice in this world? Chu Yang was speechless. What did you do? Don't you have eyes? I've been strengthening your loyalty these few days. Brother who looked at Chu Yang quizzically. Don't you know that people change? You've done so much and taken in so many orphans. Perhaps these people will be grateful to you at the start. But they'll get used to it. This gratitude will be gone. Using the words of your people, you'll be grateful if you raise the rice, but hate if you raise the rice. Don't you understand such a simple logic? I'm following a fucking person now. The heavens are blind. Ian, don't go crazy. I naturally understand this logic. Chu Yang frowned. In fact, This was also his biggest headache now. He subconsciously asked, "Do you have a way to solve this problem?" Yes, no matter how grateful they were when they were young, as they grew older and experienced more, there were too few people who could maintain their conscience and be grateful. They could even betray the kindness of saving their lives, let alone the kindness of taking them in. Furthermore, in Chu Yang's plan, these children were not going to be by his side. If they grew up in other places, it was hard to say if they would even remember him, let alone be grateful. Chu Yang had been thinking about this problem these few days. If they were not mature, he would only use those older ones and groom some of them. But that would require a lot of manpower and resources. When these little fellows grew up, the resources used would be enough to fill up the ocean. Nonsense, of course there's a way, Brother Tiger said proudly. They have never cultivated before. I'm just carving their memories of being poor and their memories of being taken in by you into the deepest part of their hearts. Furthermore, I'm transforming their memories into a seed that will be loyal to you forever. Brother Tiger said, this way, as they grow, as they cultivate, they will become more and more loyal to you. Furthermore, this will not cause any burden or harm to them. Because of the condensation of their memories, their souls will have something to rely on, and they will not be swayed. It's also very beneficial to their cultivation. There's such a thing. You're not lying to me, right? Chu Yang's eyes widened, and he said seriously, did you make a contract or something like that? That kind of thing can restrict a person's soul the most, and it's very harmful to the soul. If that's the case, I'd rather not have this plan. I can make use of everyone in the world, but I can't make use of these young children. How can I make use of their memories when they're so young? Chu Yang's expression was very serious. Chapter 1798. Bullshit. Why would I lie to you? This is just one of the many techniques I've learned when I was roaming the universe. How can it be considered as a technique? If it's harmful, you can twist my head off and use it as a urinal. Brother Tiger looked at Chu Yang with disdain. This is a technique similar to hypnosis. It will magnify your benefits and form a belief in her heart. Brother Tiger said, is it creating a god? Chu Yang frowned and realized something. Creating a god? That's right. There were no gods in the world, but when people worshipped more, there was a god. Can you say that those who worship gods are harmful? Brother Tiger asked in return. I see. Chu Yang was relieved. His heart trembled as he realized how terrifying this technique was. If he kept using this technique, wouldn't he be a traitor in this world? Brother Tiger saw Chu Yang's doubts and said, do you think that anyone can use this technique? Firstly, one must practice this kind of technique. Secondly, one's cultivation must reach the level where one's soul can roam the heaven realm. Thirdly, this kind of technique is only suitable for a person who starts practicing when they are still in the earth realm or when their cultivation is very low. Only then will it have the greatest effect. Do you think that a heavenly human or saint-level person would use this technique on a Xian spirit-level person? No. It's a waste of time and completely useless. Then isn't it fine? Brother Tiger said, if I didn't see that you were so concerned about these little fellows and have so many backup plans, do you think I would do such a thankless thing? Chu Yang laughed and said, not bad, not bad. Brother Tiger, you are indeed worthy of praise. Brother Tiger said proudly, purple crystal core, hand it over. I've helped you so much. Do you still want to be stingy with the purple crystal core? Ha ha ha. This is great. Chu Yang laughed happily and waved his hand. Countless purple crystal cores instantly drowned Brother Tiger, completely burying him. Brother Tiger screamed and was smashed into the ground before he could see clearly what it was. Meow. You want to smash me to death. These are all tricks. Brother Tiger shook his head and wagged his tail as he crawled out. The next moment, his eyes widened. Meow. So much. So much. Wahahaha. I'm rich, I'm rich. He watched as Brother Tiger ate heartily. Chu Yang, on the other hand, was stroking his chin in deep thought. Now, the situation is more or less settled. Should I summon those people and those sects? This was a magnificent action. This was Chu Yang's most magnificent plan. As long as this plan started, Chu Yang's day of dominating the heavenly imperial court would begin. But it was very difficult. It needed the most precise design, it needed the greatest temptation, it needed a world-shaking commotion. If the above conditions were not met, then everything that Chu Yang was doing now would be useless. Although it couldn't be said to be useless, it would still be difficult to achieve much. Chu Yang racked his brains to think. That night, Fourth Master Hua quietly entered the City Lord's manor alone. City Lord, I wonder if your injuries have healed. Ha ha ha. What do you mean by fucking me? Ha ha. I've come to see you this time because I want to ask for a favor from the City Lord, Shma. Our River East Hua clan. We are willing to buy Infinite Boundless Mountain to the north of Purple Cloud City at 10 times the market price. As our clan's base, we hope that the City Lord will grant us our wish. Infinite Boundless Mountain? That's not a small area. It's a few thousand miles wide. The price is also a few $100,000 Purple Cloud dollars. 10 times the market price. Our Hua clan is willing to pay 3 million Purple Cloud dollars. We will cash it on the spot without delay. 3 million? Cash it on the spot. The City Lord stood up abruptly. That's right. If you agree, this sum of money, you can hand it over immediately. I see the sincerity of the Hua clan. It's just that. According to the laws of the Heavenly Imperial Court, this kind of land and mountain range is definitely not allowed to be sold. The City Lord was very tempted by this deal. But he was afraid of the laws and seemed a little hesitant. If not for the Hua clan's great help this time, the City Lord would have kicked him out long ago just for the sake of the laws and regulations. But now, he was a little embarrassed. There's no need for the City Lord to be troubled. Perhaps we can do this. We are not buying the land permanently, but buying the right to use it for 100 years. Fourth Master Hua said in a different way. In this way, after 100 years, this land will still belong to Purple Cloud City, belonging to the Eastern Imperial world. This way, both sides will benefit, and everyone will be happy. This, City Lord. Fourth Master Hua said. As long as this matter is successful, our Hua clan will definitely not forget about you. What? You still want to bribe me? The City Lord's face instantly darkened. I don't dare. Who doesn't know that Sir is upright and honest? How could he be bought over by mere bribery? But as a friend, we have the right to exchange gifts. Reciprocity is the most basic form of etiquette. Fourth Master Hua's smile was somewhat humble, and his words were even more beautiful. Forget it. You aren't planning to destroy this mountain, right? Or is there a hidden treasure at the bottom of the mountain? The City Lord's eyes were like two sharp swords. That's not it. Fourth Master Hua's expression did not change. He lowered his voice and said, I won't hide it from you, sir. At the bottom of the mountain, there is a dragon vein. What our Jiangdong Hua clan lacks right now is luck. I believe that you are also aware of this. Dong Lai slowly nodded. This explanation was more believable. There were rumors in the Jiangdong Hua clan that their luck was about to end, and they were crazily looking for a dragon vein. To them, a dragon vein was indeed a priceless treasure. It was related to the prosperity of their clan. I hope that you, sir, can fulfill my wish. Fourth Master Hua saw that he was deep in thought and actually stood up. He respectfully bowed to the ground. For the Hua clan. I hope that you, sir, can fulfill my wish. Forget it. The City Lord let out a sigh of relief. Tomorrow, I will send someone to hand it over to you, but it can only be temporarily rented. Fourth Master Hua, what the hell? MNGB. It's enough. Thank you, sir. Fourth Master Hua understood and nodded. The moment he walked out of the City Lord's residence, Fourth Master Hua let out a long breath. It was finally done. Two black figures flashed from the side. Fourth Master, how was it? It's done. Fourth Master Hua's eyes flickered. Immediately inform the clan to send experts over and complete this as soon as possible. This concerns the future of the clan. There must not be any mistakes. Yes. Just as Fourth Master Hua walked into the City Lord's residence. Chu clan's courtyard. It was also the first time in history that all relevant personnel had been gathered together, or rather, it was a large-scale gathering of everyone. Really, everyone was participating, including the servants and the children. Even Yang Rushan and Shafu Nian, these two outsiders who were not considered outsiders. The host was Chu Yang. Tai Butian. Groups of youths and children filed in from the outside. They sat down according to a certain order and specific positions. Everyone was dressed in brand new and fitting clothes, and they were all dressed in the same way. There were at least 5,000 people here. It was the first time in their lives that they were wearing brand new and comfortable clothes that belonged to the ZJ. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement that came from the bottom of their hearts. After the attendance and counting, there were a total of 5,430 people. No one was absent. Everyone was present. Everyone was gathered here, but the place was completely silent. Everyone cherished the life that the ZJ had now. Now was not the time to make a sound. They didn't dare to make a sound. They couldn't make a sound. If by any chance he angered the family head, that would be bad. They would be letting the clan leader down for saving the ZJ. People always had a conscience, especially those who knew how to repay kindness. Chu Yang sat at the highest point. His black robe fluttered in the wind. Like a boulder, it was as if it would continue to exist like this forever. They saw Chu Yang. The 5,000 people's eyes lit up at the same time. This was the person who was our master. This was the person who pulled us out of the abyss. This was the person who gave us hope for the present and the future. This was the person who was our benefactor. For the rest of our lives, we must fight for him and protect everything that belonged to him. At this moment, this thought naturally rose in everyone's heart. And this thought, at this time, was definitely not influenced by the so-called loyalty that brother who had mentioned earlier. It was because they had not started to refine their loyalty. It was the purest loyalty that came from the purest gratitude. It was a loyalty that went straight to the depths of their souls. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Yang slowly stood up. The moment he stood up, everyone, no matter if they were from the ZJ clan, couldn't help but puff out their chests. This was a subconscious action, and the only reason for this action was to show the most beautiful and valuable side of the ZJ in front of this person. This time, I have gathered everyone here to instruct you on a few things. Most importantly, I want to have a chat with all of you. Chu Yang's voice was very calm. It was so calm that there was a subtle feeling of natural calmness. At this moment, there was a sense of authority in his voice. Number 1, I believe many of you don't understand why I want to keep all of you here. It's not strange for you to have such doubts. This is human nature. Our Chu clan had just been established, and we have a very strong foundation. There are too many former experts in our clan, and we also have a strong background. Hence, many people feel that we should focus on consolidating our own power, and recruit people from all over the place. In any case, we shouldn't spend money on ordinary people, especially on charity. It's a waste, and it's meaningless to the clan. Chapter 1799. Everyone has compassion. The fact that I'm doing this doesn't mean that I'm a good person. On the contrary, I'm a person who never forgets to repay kindness. I don't think that all of you are useless. I think that all of you have value, the value of your existence. I believe that all of you can turn the meaningless actions brought about by my compassion into a limitless future, the most glorious future. Chu Yang said lightly, at the very least, if there really comes a day when the Chu clan's courtyard is destroyed, and I run for my life to the side of each of you, you will still do your best to protect me. Even if you have the strength, all of you will still do your best to protect me. I have no doubts about this. Don't all of you think so? Yes. Everyone's voices were in unison at this moment. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were very pure. If we do not protect this person, who will we protect? If we are not loyal to this person, who will we be loyal to? But now, the Chu clan is still very weak. I hope to work with all of you for the future, but now, we have to keep a low profile and live with our tails between our legs. Chu Yang's voice sounded bleak in the silent night sky. Because, including me, We are really weak. We are so weak that we cannot withstand a single blow. Any clan can destroy us. We are not a match for any clan. This is the truth. Today, our situation is stable, but we cannot withstand a single blow. The Chu clan needs all of us to protect it together. Everyone's breaths were heavy. Chu Yang's words were very frank and straightforward. It was so straightforward that even a 7-year-old child could completely understand it. They had food to eat, clothes to wear, and people to protect them. But they could face the danger of being destroyed at any time. Once they were destroyed, they would return to the days when they were in a precarious situation. After experiencing the happiness they had now, who would be willing to return to the days of the past? Even if they were to die, they would not want to. To prevent that from happening, we can only make ZJ stronger. ZJ will protect ZJ. Chu Yang let out a soft sigh. In the future, we will protect our homeland. In the future, there will be more and more weak people joining us. Just like you, they also need our protection. The time left for us to prepare is very short. But we have a choice. Only by facing it head-on and becoming stronger in this short period of time will we have enough strength to protect our country and our home. Chu Yang said lightly, "So, are you guys fucking stupid? Did you listen to MNGB? What the fuck?" There was a deafening boom. This uniform roar came from everyone's mouths. Everyone was shouting themselves hoarse, and their faces were flushed red. We all came from the bottom, or even from the underground. We're all the ones being trampled on, but we've gathered together and worked hard to become stronger. So strong that no one dares to bully us. Chu Yang said, "Whoever dares to bully us, we will beat them up. Yes. Whoever dares to bully us, we'll beat them up." Another wave of earth-shattering roars rang out. Chu Yang said lightly, "So, we need to spontaneously form a group. We also need to come up with a name for ZJ. A unified name. To witness our birth, to prove our allegiance, and to prove our loyalty." Everyone's eyes were fixed on Chu Yang. Their eyes were burning. Their breathing was rapid. I used to have an organization. It was called Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Chu Yang said lightly, "It's still the same today. But Heavenly Armament Pavilion is full of heavenly soldiers. And you guys are not qualified to become my heavenly soldiers. So, in the future, I will train you guys. The real heavenly soldiers of Heavenly Armament Pavilion will be born from you guys. Heavenly soldiers of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. This is a noble honor. I hope that each of you will treat this as a lifetime of glory. Use a lifetime of loyalty to live up to the name of heavenly soldiers." Below, everyone's eyes were burning. Heavenly soldiers. Will there be a day when we become heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals? I must grab hold of this opportunity. Chu Yang's eyes were sharp. He slowly circled the place and said, "We have to struggle from the cracks. We have to seek survival in this world. We have to survive under the pings of various forces. But all of us have to work hard for Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We have to go crazy for the rise of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. We can't dominate in the open, but we have to control in the underground. Because we have to have self-respect, self-improvement, and self-confidence that is not inferior to anyone in the open. Since it is Heavenly Armament Pavilion, there must be a controller." Chu Yang said, "Heavenly Armament Pavilion was created by me. Naturally, I am the pavilion master. But, I still need a strict controller to manage Heavenly Armament Pavilion when I am not around. Normally, he will assist me in all matters regarding Heavenly Armament Pavilion. This person's orders are equivalent to my orders. I hope that everyone will remember this." Everyone's breathing became heavy. Who was this person? How could he obtain the clan master's trust and authority? This person will be our Heavenly Armament Pavilion's minister. I now appoint Tai Bu Tian as the first minister of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Everyone was stunned. Tai Bu Tian's minister? Who was that? Invite Bu Tian's minister. Chu Yang shouted. Since he was going to establish a force, he had to show it on the surface. Not only did he have to show it, he had to show it to the fullest. Yang Russian raised his eyebrows. The crowd parted like a wave. In the distance, there was a person. He was tall and slender, wearing a light floral robe. He walked over slowly, with the bearing of an emperor. He was magnanimous and calm. The moment this person appeared, everyone, including young Russian and Greasy Bird, who had the highest cultivation, couldn't help but feel their hearts skip a beat as they looked over. Even Brother Tiger, who was on top of the roof, had a cold look in his eyes as he looked over with rapt attention. This person walked over slowly in light robes, but the aura he gave off was clearly that of an emperor inspecting the thousands of miles of mountains and rivers under China's rule. He was receiving all the subjects of China's country. This was the bearing of an emperor that he was born with. The bearing of a ruler that he was born with. He just walked over like this, and it was as if he was above all living things, the ruler of the world. This was something that no one could imitate, and it wasn't a majesty that could be imitated. Even young Russian, in the face of this person, felt as if his aura was about to lose its effect. He even felt as if he was facing His Majesty the Eastern Emperor. It was the kind of feeling that I can't help but go forward to pay my respect. Although it was clear that the other party's cultivation was low. He couldn't withstand a single blow. But this feeling was unstoppable and irresistible. Young Russian was shocked. Who exactly was this person in front of him? This kind of royal aura was actually comparable to His Majesty the Eastern Emperor. They were on par. Huge waves surged in young Russian's heart, and he couldn't calm down. Actually, young Russian wasn't surprised. His Majesty the Eastern Emperor's cultivation was extraordinary, but deep down, he was still more of a martial artist than an emperor when facing enemies. There were still many people who couldn't help but take action, using the identity and methods of martial artists to solve problems. But Tai Butian was different. Tai Butian was a natural emperor. No matter when facing enemies, she only needed to use her status and authority to mobilize the troops. She would never face the enemy personally. In this life, she had even killed people personally. Although it was already hard to find a match for her in the lower three heavens. One person's strength. She could fight against 10, or 100, or even 1,000, but rarely could she fight against 10,000. Of course, if you had to give an example of those powerful people who could destroy the world, then I would shut up. Under normal circumstances, with a person's strength, 1 against 1,000, that was the limit. However, under the command of an emperor, tens of millions of corpses could be seen floating in this world. When an emperor was angry, blood would flow all over the world. In this sense, Feng Yu was the first to speak. Compared to Xue Leihan and Tai Butian was actually a true emperor. He was the supreme ruler of the world. Xue Leihan, on the other hand, wasn't pure. Although they were in different planes, an emperor was an emperor. On the throne of China, I am the heavens. My words were my life, and no one could go against it. My orders were strictly enforced, and my words were the law. This was the education that Tai Butian had received since she was young. But even Xue Leihan, sitting on the throne of the Eastern Emperor, didn't dare to say that China was the heavens. This was the difference in essence. Under the gazes of the crowd, Tai Butian walked up the stairs step by step. She walked to the chair beside Chu Yang and slowly turned to sit down. Facing the crowd, she was calm but also had an endless majesty, looking down on the world and the ants. This was just an ordinary stage. Below her was just an ordinary chair. This was just a venue for more than 5,000 people. But when Tai Butian walked up and sat down, it was as if she was a real emperor who was about to be crowned. She appeared in response to the heavens, ruling over the world and looking down on the world and the ant. This kind of aura even made Chu Yang's heart tremble, and he was dazzled. Up till this point, Tai Butian still hadn't said a single word. However, this natural aura of an emperor and the bearing of an emperor had conquered everyone. There was no need for words. There was no need for hype. The emperor's demeanor had conquered everyone. Tai Butian's aura at this moment, even though she didn't have the strength to truss up a chicken, was enough for her to face the emperor of the heavens directly, and in terms of aura, she was even on par with him, not at all inferior, because, from a certain point of view, everyone was in the same position. Even Chu Yang didn't expect the effect of Tai Butian's appearance to be so shocking that it actually made all the arrangements of the government useless. It was fine not to use it at all, but to use it would be superfluous. Just by looking at everyone's reaction at that time, it was clear that the moment Tai Butian appeared, the underground dynasty was established. It was established in the truest sense. And it was the true unity of the masses. There was no need for words. There was no need at all. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion's minister. A majestic name, a prominent identity. But Chu Yang and Tai Butian both felt a little strange. It was a kind of wonder of the world's reincarnation. Back then, when Chu Yang had nothing and entered Iron Cloud, Tai Butian stood alone and appointed Chu Yang as the minister of Bu Tian Pavilion. Now, the wheel of fortune had turned. Chu Yang also appointed Tai Butian as the minister of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Chapter 1800. Moreover, it was at the end of their lives. Similarly, they were in danger and faced with a bleak future. Similarly, the two of them faced the storm of the world. Both Chu Yang and Tai Butian, this pair of man and woman, felt that the affairs of this world were really a little too miraculous. They couldn't help but feel as if they were going back in time, as if they were reliving the hardships and struggles of Iron Cloud. Both of them felt a warm current flowing through their hearts. Both Chu Yang and Tai Butian knew. The current Heavenly Armament Pavilion was just a group that encouraged people to improve themselves and increase cohesion. What they really wanted was not just a simple Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Both of them were very ambitious. What they really wanted was a dynasty, an underground dynasty, and everything would start from here. Therefore, Tai Butian's ascension today was filled with the aura of an emperor being crowned. Because both of them knew that their achievements would not stop here. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion is yours. Your achievements will determine the achievements of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Your glory will forge the glory of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Tai Butian only said 2 sentences. I will wait and see. With our combined strength, we will make the Heavenly Armament Pavilion rise. I hope to see each of your names on the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion list. There was a huge uproar below. Once upon a time, this was a good thing that they didn't even dare to dream of. Now, it was right in front of them. As long as they worked hard, they would be able to get it. From today onwards, becoming a Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion would be the lifelong goal of these little fellows. This was a supreme honor. Everyone was shocked. They all had a feeling. It was a wonderful sense of belonging, and this sense of belonging did not belong to a family. In other people's families, even if they were indebted to them, they would still be their slaves. But being a Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Heavenly Armament Pavilion, it was a great honor, and it was a resounding organization. And it was an organization that they had to rely on their own efforts to protect. This was their organization, their own. No one could understand how much the sense of belonging of their master would motivate these little fellows. It was unimaginable. On the night of the establishment of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, Chu Yang was called over by Yang Rushan. Brother Chu, who is that person? Yang Rushan looked at Chu Yang with his sharp eyes. Tai Butian's appearance. Yang Rushan was shocked beyond words. He even felt that today's matter could pose a threat to the Eastern Royal Heavens. If this Heavenly Armament Pavilion really developed, it would become the most terrifying organization. This was Yang Rushan's intuition. Because Tai Butian's natural aura of an emperor was too imposing. This kind of aura was definitely not something an ordinary person could have. Faced with the dilemma of friendship and righteousness, the only way was to lay out everything clearly. My wife. Chu Yang didn't hide it. There was no point in hiding the truth from Yang Rushan, and it might even cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Your wife. Yang Rushan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. What? Such a natural ruler is your wife. Chu Yang is too strong. He can actually suppress such an emperor. Wife. This person is a man. Could it be that Chu Yang is actually... My God, should I stay away from him in the future? Another thought suddenly popped into his head. Yang Rushan shuddered in fear. Finally, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Chu Yang could see it clearly. Yang Rushan's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Then, he retracted his eyeballs with a whoosh. This showed how shocked Yang Rushan was. This was also a kind of martial art. A very profound martial art. Minister Chu sighed in his heart. What's so strange about this? My wife was an emperor in the past. It's normal for her to do this. Why are you standing so far away from me? Do you think I'll eat you up? You're not imagining things, are you? You've misunderstood. Actually, my wife is a woman. Chu Yang didn't think much of Yang Rushan's fuss. He explained the matter between him and Tai Butian, and explained the disguise very seriously. After all, it wouldn't be good if his new big brother misunderstood. Yang Rushan was relieved, but he couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Brother, I have to say that your wife, sister-in-law is a natural ruler. In this aspect, you're far inferior to her. The difference is like heaven and earth. Chu Yang pursed his lips. Since you want to establish your own power, and you want to control it, then you have to learn to be a qualified ruler. Your wife is already very good at this, but you haven't even started. Yang Rushan lectured. Ruler. Chu Yang muttered to himself. What do you mean by a superior? Yang Rushan pressed. Chu Yang was suddenly at a loss for words. That's right. What is a true superior? What is a real ruler? Chu Yang couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. A ruler is never a title. In different places and environments, there are different definitions of a ruler. In the eyes of a beggar, an ordinary person is a ruler. In the eyes of an ordinary person, a rich person is a ruler. In the eyes of a rich person, an official with power is a ruler. In the eyes of an official, a higher-ranking official is a ruler. In a gang leader or a hall leader is a ruler. Yang Rushan said slowly, but, can these people really be considered rulers? No. Because in the eyes of a true ruler, they are nothing. A true ruler doesn't need to move or speak. His every action and every word has the aura of a ruler. Just by sitting, standing, or saying a few words, he can make people feel submissive and even loyal to him. Even an enemy would be full of admiration and respect when facing such a ruler. This is also if the enemy is at the same level. If the enemy is not at the same level, they would feel fear and even despair. Yang Rushan said, there is a saying for such an existence, called the aura of a ruler. There is another saying, called the aura of a ruler. Don't laugh, such an aura does exist. In fact, the aura your wife exuded when she walked up the stage today was the standard aura of a ruler. The aura of a ruler. Yang Rushan said in a low voice, a true ruler can always rely on his aura alone. Against a million-strong army, those who have been in a high position for a long time may not be a true ruler even though they are above millions of people. They also make people feel mysterious and not a ruler. Chu Yang nodded deeply and said slowly, I seem to understand a little. My understanding of a ruler is too shallow. To a true ruler, they are a symbol of distance and loneliness. Yang Rushan said softly, these words. You have to understand it well. When you understand it, when you do, you will really understand what a ruler is. A ruler. Chu Yang muttered. Suddenly, he smiled and said, a ruler needs distance. I know. For example, when everyone is together, I am high and mighty. But that kind of life, I don't like it. Regarding this point, Chu Yang really understood it. Back when he was in charge of Bu Tian Pavilion, Chu Yang was just like this. He always maintained a distance that was difficult to close with his subordinates. From beginning to end, he was always alone and did things alone. But Chu Yang didn't like that kind of life. What he liked was still the brothers playing and laughing together. Even if they beat each other up every day like pigs, their faces swollen and bruised every day, their hearts would still be satisfied and happy. He laughed in a carefree manner. In our family, it's already very good to have such a standard leader. As for me, although I am not a ruler in the standard sense, who dares to say that I am not a ruler? My wife is a ruler, but as her husband, am I not? Yang Rushan was at a loss for words. After hesitating for a while, he stared and said, If someone like you really reaches the peak, you can only be someone like the emperor, but definitely not someone like the saint. Someone like the emperor. Someone like the saint. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat. He said slowly, I roughly understand what you mean. That is to say, the saint of Heaven Imperial Court is a standard ruler? Yang Rushan said, yes, that's right. Chu Yang said indifferently, it's precisely because of such people that everyone and all the forces watched purple cloud heavens get destroyed without sending out any troops. Just for a delicate balance of power? Is that what you think? Yang Rushan was speechless. He said with his eyes wide open, I didn't say that. Chu Yang said, what you said is not important. Should I understand it this way? The so-called true ruler is someone who can achieve his goals without hesitation, by hook or by crook, just for benefits. And the saint is such a person? That's why you think he's the standard leader, isn't it? Yang Rushan was sweating profusely. He said angrily, I didn't say that. I never said that. Chu Yang laughed and said, if that's the case, the saint is also not a true ruler. Yang Rushan held his breath and pondered for a moment. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. The saint is not a ruler? Yang Rushan suddenly felt that this sentence was not without reason. At least, compared to a ruler like Tai Butian, the saint seemed to lack a kind of grandeur. Yang Rushan was confused and fell silent. Chu Yang also suddenly became silent. He was shocked by his own words that made him laugh out loud. The saint is not a ruler. Chu Yang felt like thousands of lines were refracted in his mind in an instant. Then, he didn't know where he was thinking. He felt like there were 1,000 things on his mind, and his emotions were complicated. Faintly, there was also some fear. The two of them looked at each other. Chu Yang and Yang Rushan both saw a trace of fear in each other's eyes. But neither of them asked, neither of them said a word. At the same time, they fell silent. This debate about the ruler seemed to have no conclusion, but it had a profound impact on Chu Yang, Yang Rushan, and even the entire heaven. P.S. An inheritance dispute at my wife's house. Sigh, it's so busy. Aunt Feng, who went home to mediate, had just entered the house when a basin flew at her and hit her calf like a flying saucer. Damn it. I'm still limping after getting stitches. There are many other injured people. Now, I have to run between my home, the hospital, and my wife's house. I'd rather spend more money in the hospital. Why bother? I'm speechless. Even I, who was purely trying to stop the fight, was caught in the crossfire. After a busy day of showering, I discovered that my head was also broken and my neck was scratched twice. I didn't even know when it happened. I didn't even notice it. I had no choice but to take leave yesterday. I'm really sorry. Why do I always take leave at the end of the month? Speechless. Wentian. Chapter 1801. For the next few days, Chu Yang stayed at home all day long. He didn't need to use Jin Yotsai's identity for the time being. What he needed to do now was to make the best use of his time to build his own team. He would slowly cultivate all the things he needed. Although he didn't have a team to speak of at the moment, Chu Yang knew how big his investment was. In other words, he had already spent a lot of his capital. Even if he didn't lack money, it didn't mean that he didn't lack other things. He believed that no matter how powerful a person's background was, they would have to think twice before investing so much. For the past 7 to 8 days, he had consumed a complete heavy pill and a big cup of Spring of Life. As for other elixirs and treasures, he had thrown in an uncountable amount. In the dozens of pots of soup, he had already used up too much good stuff. Every bowl of those soups could be described as priceless. If the truth was known by outsiders, any bowl of soup could be sold for a fortune. Chu Yang quietly and secretly did these things without anyone knowing. He wanted to raise the aptitude of each of these children to the maximum. It was best to make a fortune quietly. If others knew that he could raise a person's aptitude, Chu Yang felt that he would be drowned in an instant. He would be eaten until not even a bone was left. Chu Yang's secrecy was flawless, to the extent that Yang Rushan, who had always been calm and composed, was now faced with a series of shocking situations. When he used his divine senses to scan them in the morning, He realized that the aptitude of these children had improved compared to yesterday. When he scanned them again at night, he realized that it had improved again. Although the increase in strength each time wasn't large, it was indeed an improvement. Yang Rushan wondered again and again if his spiritual altar had been damaged because of this serious injury. If his spiritual sense didn't recover, how could there be such a huge mistake? These children's aptitudes were all trash at first. Then, they weren't trash at all. Then, they were all ordinary. Then, they could all be cultivated. Some of them even had the qualities of geniuses. Wasn't this too ridiculous? The most ridiculous thing was that these children recovered with the nourishment. And after these few days of training, it seemed that the impurities in their bodies were decreasing bit by bit. But as long as it didn't involve these children, his spiritual sense would feel normal again. What was going on? Yang Rushan was extremely conflicted. Yang Rushan was 100% sure. If some large sects were recruiting disciples, any one of these 5,000 children would be close to the minimum requirement to be accepted into the sect. He was only one step away. In fact, more than half of the children had already exceeded the bottom line. This was simply inconceivable. Just 10 days ago, they were clearly a bunch of trash. No one was willing to look him in the eye. Yang Rushan groaned in his heart. Why did things turn out this way? Why did this happen? What the hell is going on? Chu Yang could totally understand Yang Rushan's frustration and confusion. Therefore, he could only secretly rejoice. Even though the consumption was heart-wrenching, at least the pain went hand in hand with happiness. These days. In addition to carefully building up his team, Chu Yang was also paying attention to another matter, the movements of Purple Cloud City. He could vaguely feel that this small border city had been quiet for a long time. A storm was coming. The reason why he felt this way was because Fourth Master Hua hadn't been here for several days. This fact made Chu Yang somewhat enlightened. Since Fourth Master Hua hadn't been here for a long time, then there should be some progress in his request, right? Since there was progress, then, what exactly was it? What exactly was it? Chu Yang was thinking that the city lord would come to him for treatment one day. At that time, for 7 to 8 days. Chu Yang had been recruiting soldiers and buying horses. So far, he had only recruited less than 20 Shen grade martial artists. It was impossible not to lower the standards. Earth-grade experts were not people that Chu Yang and the Chu clan could recruit. Even these Shen-grade experts were only willing to come to the Chu clan because Chu Yang was decisive and generous enough. If these people were in the Heaven continent, they could be considered as martial artists. But in the Heaven Imperial Court, they were just dregs. They were only enough to make up the scene. Chu Yang could faintly feel that the Jin and Wu clans were somewhat against his recruitment. Even though they didn't directly resist or interfere with Chu Yang, they secretly helped to prevent Chu Yang from recruiting martial artists. Their influence was undoubtedly huge in Purple Cloud City. These two clans had been operating in Purple Cloud City for many years. They could be said to be real local tyrants. Chu Yang couldn't recruit anyone in Purple Cloud City. However, Chu Yang was dismissive of this result. Do you really think that I'm going to recruit martial artists in Purple Cloud City? How many martial artists are there here? How many truly powerful martial artists are there? What a joke. Even if you give your strongest martial artists to me, I don't want them. I really don't want them. How can other clans use them so well? It seemed that he couldn't even be completely at ease. Right now, he still had to cultivate his own martial artist. Unknowingly, half a month had passed in the blink of an eye. In this half a month, Chu Yang didn't go out. He didn't see any patients or auction any treasured swords. As a result, the entire Chu clan's courtyard was in a state of sitting idle and eating away at their savings. Not only did Chu Yang not make any money, but he also spent a lot of money. He flattened the men's hall and the nearby real estate he bought, and used the fastest speed to build an auction house. The construction speed was quite fast. Now, it was close to the top. Chu Yang had requested for the construction of the auction house to be perfect. He had also requested for it to be completed at the fastest speed and with the highest quality. Therefore, A large amount of money had been spent by Chu Yang as if it was flowing water. Money was really not something that could resist spending. Previously, Chu Yang had made a lot of money from auctions, seeing patients, gambling, and the windfall from the Li clan. Chu Yang already felt that he could be regarded as a rich man. However, in just a few days, the money from the Li clan was almost gone. It was almost gone. Chu Yang would have to rely on the money he had earned from gambling and auctions to maintain his finances if he spent all of this money. But his previous income was just a drop in the bucket at the current rate of spending money. He wouldn't be able to sustain it for long. You really don't know the cost of money until you're in charge. Now, not only did he have to be responsible for the food, shelter, and transportation of those 5,000 little fellows, he also had to pay the wages of those fellows who had already entered working mode. Just the amount of food and drink alone was a huge amount. But a certain king of hell was still leisurely every day, without a trace of worry. He cultivated, spun one round, then cultivated again, and spun another round. At night, he hugged Tai Butian tenderly. He also ignored Tai Butian's resistance. Sometimes, he would use soft words to ask for help, and sometimes, he would directly force himself on her. Fishy was very puzzled by Chu Yang's behavior. How could this guy be so calm? The deadline for the bet was almost a month away. Not only did he not make any money, but he also made a lot of money. Instead, he spent large amounts of money. Back then, he only gambled for half a year. Was this guy going to give up just like that? If he really won just like that, something fishy would make him feel extremely apologetic. Chu Yang was already so miserable now. Trash constitution, pressure to survive, and he still had to take care of such a big family. He even had to collect such a valuable bet. Wasn't it a little immoral? Wasn't it a little lacking in humanity? It was still uncertain whether Chu Yang would break down, but Fishy Cat himself was very likely to be traumatized because of this matter, and he would never be able to sleep in peace again. Teacher Cat was feeling very uncomfortable right now. He kept muttering in his heart, "If I really win in the future, what should I do? Heaven and earth are my witnesses, I can't go back on my word. I have to accept it. But what about Chu Yang? If it really didn't work out, should he accept the bet first and then give him money? That could at least make up for it. But the problem was, where would the Cat clan get so much money? If he gave too little, he might as well not give at all. The Cat clan couldn't afford it. Should he give up on the bet? Accept the bet and then return it to Chu Yang? This was a solution, but giving up on the bet was equivalent to giving up on the Cat clan's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to soar. How could he give it up for an outsider? Betraying his own clan. But, if he accepted the bet, he would be betraying his good brother. His savior. This wasn't something that a person should do. In this way, a certain cat would be trapped in this endless cycle every day. 3, 5, or even 7 times were considered rare. Therefore, something strange happened. Both parties made a bet, but Chu Yang, who was about to lose, lived a carefree life every day. On the other hand, Teacher Cat, who was about to win, was full of anxiety and couldn't sleep at night. There were also frequent instances of blackouts. Finally, on the 20th day, bang! A table was smashed into pieces. Yang Russian stood in front of the table, his face full of disbelief. The first thing he couldn't believe was that he had actually recovered so quickly. He had originally estimated that the entire treatment would take at least a few months. Now, it had only been less than a month and he had already recovered more than half of his strength. At this rate, it would take at most 2 days for him to fully recover to a state of near-perfect condition. This showed that divine Dr. Chu Yang's medical skills had reached a level that ordinary people could only look up to. The second thing that Yang Russian couldn't believe was, in the courtyard of the Chu clan, without any warning, there were rows and rows of geniuses popping up one after another, like bamboo shoots after the rain. This place had already become a camp for geniuses. Yang Russian watched helplessly as each and every piece of trash transformed before his eyes. They were like a black cocoon that no one would take a second look at. Day by day, they split open in front of his eyes and eventually turned into beautiful butterflies. I'll continue writing. I should be able to write the 3rd chapter. But I'm afraid I won't be able to write the 4th chapter. I've been so busy these few days. Chapter 1802. 20 days ago, these kids were still trash. There were more than 5,000 of them, but none of them were considered to be above average. The best one among them only had a cultivation aptitude of lower grade. Baidu search PC. Yang Rushan remembered this point very clearly. But more than 10 days ago, this group of children had changed. If they were to enter a sect, they would have at least 40% of their aptitudes. They belonged to the category where it would be a pity to give up on them, but they would not have a bright future. Although this was still nothing much, but from a trash aptitude to this level in 10 days, it was definitely a rebirth. At that time, Yang Rushan was greatly shocked. He kept suspecting that there was something wrong with his divine soul and his eyes. But after 10 days, the aptitudes of these children had all reached a level where they could be ranked among the top in any large sect. Moreover, this was only the level of those with the lowest aptitude. Most of the others had already reached the upper level, and there were even a few super geniuses who were definitely the best of the best. Once they entered a sect, they would immediately be recognized as potential candidate. Such a talent, no matter where he went, as long as he appeared, he would immediately be fought over. However, there was actually a group of several thousand people gathered together here. Yang Rushan finally couldn't contain his astonishment. What kind of magic was there in this place? Could it cause such an outcome? The reasons that Chu Yang had given earlier were no longer valid. If there were only one or two of them, Yang Rushan could still reluctantly accept that he had made a mistake. But there were thousands of kids with abnormal aptitudes in front of him. All of them? How much of a fool would I, Yang Rushan, be? Go and fool yourself. Such quantity, such quality, it was simply unbelievable. No, this fact had already exceeded the scope of inconceivable. This was simply a miracle, or perhaps a miracle, an immortal legend, a legend that had been passed down through the ages. In fact, some of the big sects in the Heaven Imperial Court had the ability to create such a miracle. A peerless martial artist would compress the spiritual energy in a radius of thousands of miles. Then, the spiritual energy would be purified and injected into a specific environment. Then, the geniuses in the sect would be allowed to cultivate there. This would be 100 times faster than normal, and the successor of the sect would be groomed. But this could only be done on a limited number of people at a time. And this method did not have any effect on improving one's aptitude. Just like Chu Yang's side, where thousands of people were raising their aptitudes together. This was simply unheard of. If Yang Rushan hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he would have thought that the person who told him about it must be crazy or daydreaming. However, the person involved was himself. Could it be that he had also gone crazy and was daydreaming? Right now. The thing that Yang Rushan couldn't believe the most was the changes that had happened to him. Over the past few days, Yang Rushan was surprised to discover something. Not only the children, but even his own aptitude had improved a little. This was too. His aptitude had changed. It had changed for the better. Yang Rushan was appalled. It wasn't that he couldn't believe it, but it was a fact. What was there to doubt? However, her brother's body hadn't changed at all for more than 100,000 years. He was born like this, but he had stayed here for more than half a month. It actually increased my aptitude. With my cultivation, with my age, it can actually increase and change. Yang Rushan was so shocked by this shocking turn of events that he lost his ability to speak. The next moment, Yang Rushan made up his mind and locked onto Chu Yang's position with his divine senses. Then, he waved his hand and pulled Chu Yang over. Chu Yang, who was taking a stroll, suddenly appeared in front of Yang Rushan. What are you doing? Chu Yang was furious. He was clearly in a good mood just a moment ago, but suddenly he couldn't move his body. Then, he was caught with a whoosh. No one would be happy about such a thing. Fortunately, this wasn't the worst situation. If he was doing it with His Majesty, it wouldn't be described as bad. Tell me, what exactly is going on? I want to hear the truth. Yang Rushan's eyes were burning. Tell you what's going on? Chu Yang asked innocently. Don't play dumb with me. You know what I want to ask. Yang Rushan was furious. So many people became geniuses at the same time. I won't believe it if you say it wasn't because of you. Tell me the truth. How am I playing dumb? I'm also depressed now. Chu Yang said as if he had been wronged. Why did their aptitude increase, but mine didn't? Why is that? Why? Is it because the heavens don't like me? Looking at Chu Yang's attitude, it was as if he had no one to complain about his grievances. He had to keep his troubles to himself. It was as if it was really the case. What's there to increase with your trashy physique? Mention that. Yang Russian said angrily. Suddenly, he was stunned. He looked at Chu Yang, and stood motionless as if he had been petrified. What's wrong with you? Chu Yang grinned. He was usually so calm. Why was he so agitated now? What's wrong with him? You. What's wrong with you? Did you see a ghost? How is this possible? It's impossible. It's impossible. Yang Russian exclaimed as if he had seen a ghost. What's wrong with me? This is impossible. That's impossible. I think you've really seen a ghost. Why are you so agitated? Did you take the wrong medicine? Chu Yang was baffled. Stop pretending. Yang Russian flew into a rage. Tell me, why are you so close to the earth rank now? He stared. With your aptitude, you shouldn't be able to reach the earth level even if you train for another 100 or 1,000 years. How did you improve so quickly in just a few days? What's going on? I'm reaching the earth level. Are you for real? Chu Yang asked suspiciously. Is it really so fast? Seems like the heavens haven't given up on me. I knew it. I'm such a handsome and elegant man. How can there be no room for improvement? Facts have proven that I'm a legend. I'm a legend. Yang Russian looked at Chu Yang, who was spouting nonsense. He couldn't help but feel angry. This bastard's acting was really good. His acting was so perfect that it was flawless, as if he was completely innocent. He went forward and grabbed Chu Yang's wrist. Then, he flew into a rage. How can this be fake? You. What kind of demonic means did you use? How did you improve so much? How is this possible? How would I know something that even a great master like you doesn't know? Chu Yang said innocently, I was so shocked by you and Big Boss Cat that I didn't practice much these days. How did I advance to the earth level? You ask me, who should I ask? Didn't train. Yang Russian almost fainted when he heard this. You bastard. You didn't train and yet you improved so quickly. If you took the time to train, what would happen to you? Would you become a saint in one step? But, what was with this Dantian? It was obviously a trashy aptitude. Why did it improve so quickly? Could it be that all the rules were reversed? Yang Russian was speechless. He was completely lost. For so many years, Yang Russian had never felt so lost. Chu Yang looked innocent. Do you think this is a good place? Maybe this is the best feng shui location in the Heaven Imperial Court? God gave me a trashy aptitude, and in order to compensate me, he gave me this piece of good feng shui land. This is possible, right? Get lost. Yang Russian was furious. To hell with the feng shui location. Although he couldn't figure out the reason, it definitely had nothing to do with the feng shui treasured land. This location was as trashy as Chu Yang's aptitude. Are you going to tell me or not? Don't force me to be rough. Yang Russian grabbed Chu Yang's neck and shook him. Ugh. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and stuck out his tongue. He waved his hands and was finally released. He coughed violently and continued to play dumb. Yes, what's going on? Why is this happening? This is too strange. Oh yes, you're already treating me like this. Is this not considered rough? Then what is considered rough? Is there something wrong with my understanding? Yang Russian glared at him. He felt weak all over. Trying to get something out of this guy's mouth was harder than ascending to the heavens. Moreover, he couldn't really use his hands to cut him. That was his savior. He was really a piece of troublesome meat. He couldn't be slapped, beaten, cut, or pushed away. He was a pain in the ass. Forget it, I won't ask you anymore. Yang Rushan waved his hand and said, "This is your personal secret. But what do you intend to do with these kids?" These kids were enough to form a super sect with their current numbers. If all of them were to develop, Yang Rushan felt terrified just thinking about it. "What do you mean?" Chu Yang asked curiously. "All of them have such good aptitudes. You have to teach them something, right? Are you going to leave them there?" Yang Rushan guided him patiently. If such good aptitudes were to be wasted, Yang Rushan would feel that Chu Yang had committed a heinous crime. Even if he was his savior, he couldn't kill him. He had to beat him up first. Why? Chu Yang's words drove Yang Rushan crazy. "I feed them, clothe them, and even give them a place to stay. Why should I teach them something? All the benefits belong to them. If this goes on, they will farm and do some work in the future. When they earn money, they will repay me. That's the right thing to do. What's the point of learning those useless things? What's better than living a peaceful life?" Chu Yang's feigned ignorance made Yang Rushan gnash his teeth. Chapter 1803. Looking at Chu Yang's nonchalant face, Yang Rushan wanted to swallow Chu Yang whole. He was so angry that his hair stood on end. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said, "Hello. You're very good. You're very good. You're very good." He turned around and strode away. He was really afraid that if he stayed any longer, he would not be able to control himself and crush Chu Yang to death. Old Zongheng had never seen such an infuriating bastard in his life. So many good materials were wasted just like that. Let them go out to work. Go out to farm. Was there any justice in this world? Yang Rushan could tell that Chu Yang had no intention of grooming these people himself. This time, Chu Yang's attitude was very clear. Moreover, Chu Yang could not afford to train so many people. But so many geniuses were really left to farm. Wasting resources recklessly could not be described as wasteful. Just the thought of it made Yang Rushan want to vomit blood. If the big sects were to find out about this, Yang Rushan could imagine how Chu Yang would be captured and skinned alive. Then, he would be turned into a sky lantern before being fried in a frying pan. Yang Rushan left in a huff. The only consolation was that Wang Dao's aptitude had improved. He had said that he would train him personally. After a few days of recovery, he would start to train him. Chu Yang could not possibly leave him to farm anymore, right? Another day had passed. When Chu Yang was anxiously waiting, the city lord finally arrived. "Brother Chu Yang, ha ha ha," the eyes of the attendant almost fell out of their sockets. He dared to swear to the heavens that ever since the city lord came to Xixia City, he had never been so intimate with anyone. What was going on? "Yo, ha ha. Big brother." Chu Yang's face was full of enthusiasm. Both of them laughed as they approached each other, as if they were brothers who had been separated for many years. That kind of intimacy did not need to be mentioned. Inviting the city lord into a secret chamber, Chu Yang brewed the medicine personally. It was another torturous experience. The city lord was tortured to the point of wanting to die a few times. He was sweating profusely. His face was so distorted that it was turning purple. After the treatment was completed, as he drank his tea, the city lord rubbed his hands awkwardly. "Brother Chu, look at my memory. I actually forgot about your consultation fee last time." As he spoke, his hand reached into his bosom. This saying was indeed true. The lord of the city had indeed forgotten about it. Moreover, he was so excited that he had forgotten about it. At that time, he was only thinking about what to do. How could he have thought about the consultation fee? "What are you talking about?" Chu Yang angrily glared at him. "Big brother, are you looking down on me?" The city lord was stunned and wiped his sweat. "Brother, what are you saying? Why do I have to pay for treating your illness?" Chu Yang said angrily. "What kind of person do you think I am?" He waved his hand and said, "Don't mention this again. Brother, this." The city lord was touched. This doesn't make sense. If Big Brother insists on paying, then just pay for these 2 visits. Don't come to me for any injuries in the future. How can a noble person set foot in this lowly place of mine?" Chu Yang said resolutely. He sat down angrily and turned his head away. His face was full of "You are treating me like an outsider. I am very hurt. Don't. Brother, don't be angry. It's just a casual remark." The city lord quietly put the purple cloud coins back into his pocket and smiled. It's my fault. We're brothers, and talking about money will hurt our relationship." "That's right," Chu Yang said righteously. "That's how it should be. Don't separate yourself from me. Talking about money will hurt our relationship." Yes. "But I also have a request," the city lord said seriously. "Brother, don't separate yourself from me in the future. Otherwise, I will really be angry." The city lord was very emotional. This sentence was said with great sincerity. "Of course. Let's not talk about money. Let's talk about love, haha." Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, "It's a pity that fourth brother Hua didn't come. If he was, it would be even better." "Brother, I have to warn you about something." The city lord was full of brotherly love at this moment. He lowered his voice and said, "Brother, you must know that fourth brother Hua is really not someone you can provoke. No matter if he is an enemy or a friend, he is not someone you can get involved with right now. You must be careful and safe. As long as I am in Purple Cloud City, you will not be wronged. Just remember this sentence." "What do you mean?" Chu Yang said righteously. "If it wasn't for fourth brother Hua who helped me and recommended you, how could I have a foothold in Purple Cloud City now? Fourth brother Hua has done me a great favor. As long as it's something he needs, I will help him no matter what. Even if I can't help him, I will help him with money and effort." You stubborn person." The city lord was anxious and angry. This stubborn person valued fourth brother Hua so much. Fourth brother Hua's clan was about to excavate the dragon vein. At that time, who knew what kind of movement it would cause? If the enemy of the Hua clan knew about this, it would definitely lead to a series of life and death battles. If Chu Yang is involved in this matter, with his cowardly behavior, if he dies because of Hua Sai before he can completely cure me, what should I do then? "Brother, you don't know." The city lord was anxious and lowered his voice. "I'll tell you the truth. Fourth brother Hua was willing to rope you in because he wanted to use you to do me a favor. He had bad intentions. If not for you curing my illness, I don't know what would happen to me now." That can't be right. How could it be like this? I think fourth brother Hua is a generous and straightforward person. How could he be such a person? Chu Yang's face was full of suspicion. Brother Chu is a kind person and you are new to the martial world. How would you know how sinister people can be? Fourth brother Hua and the Hua clan are planning something big this time. They plan to transplant a dragon vein from there. This is a huge matter that involves the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Brother, after this matter, the Hua clan will survive this crisis. With your medical skills, they will definitely not want to offend you easily. But in this period of time, you must listen to me. Try to act as little as possible. Otherwise, you will die for nothing. He said earnestly, with the strength and status of the Jiang Donghua family, the enemies they have provoked. Not to mention you, brother, even if all of my city guards were added together, it would still be of no use. It's that serious? Chu Yang's expression was a little stunned. It's really that dangerous? Seeing that Chu Yang seemed to have the intention to retreat, the city lord relaxed. The Hua clan has put in a lot of effort this time. Up until now, they have sent many experts. There are as many as 7 Empyrean experts. It is said that there is even a saint expert. Brother, think about it yourself. Such a matter, with such experts involved, what's the point of you taking action? I see. Chu Yang's face was full of gratitude. Thank you for pointing it out. I, your little brother, will not participate in it. Actually, with my strength, if I really participate, won't I be killed with one slap? Brother, it's right to think this way. Nothing is more important than your own life. The city lord relaxed and laughed. After sending off the satisfied city lord, Chu Yang's eyes flashed. He muttered, "Boundless mountain, late at night." A figure streaked across the sky like a meteor. He seemed to have landed in an abandoned house. Immediately, a huge figure appeared. Carrying the figure just now. With a swoosh. It had already disappeared. Even if no one found out, Chu Yang still had to make a turn, just in case. Even if he was found out and caught red-handed, he could still deny it. Boundless mountain. Boundless mountain. Boundless mountain. There was no sign of human habitation for thousands of miles. This was the Boundless Mountain. 2,300 miles away from Purple Cloud City was a continuous mountain range. The entire Boundless Mountain was located on this piece of empty land. There was no sign of human habitation for thousands of miles. Since ancient times, as long as someone settled down within 1,000 miles, their entire family would become dried corpses in less than a month. This was a miraculous yet cruel phenomenon, filled with a strange atmosphere. Because of this, the Boundless Mountain was called the Cursed Land. The night wind was biting cold. Brother Tiger, whose body had become huge, silently landed on the peak of the Boundless Mountain. Chu Yang, dressed in black, jumped down from Brother Tiger's back. Brother Tiger, carrying Chu Yang, used less than a breath's worth of time to cover this distance. Even with Chu Yang's current cultivation level, he was almost killed by the high-altitude hurricane. The speed was really too fast. So fast that there wasn't enough time to create a sonic boom. Boundless Mountain. Chu Yang sized up this area, his eyes revealing a pondering look. The surrounding night was dark, the chirping of insects and cicadas, completely silent. The treetops in the jungle on the mountain swayed gently in the breeze, and the grass on the ground swayed slightly. Everything was normal, and it was no different from an ordinary mountain. Be more careful. There are people guarding all around the foot of the mountain. Brother Tiger said telepathically. I know. Chu Yang nodded slightly. Since the Hua clan wanted to make a move here, it would be strange if no one was guarding it. Brother Tiger, can you sense anything unusual here? Chu Yang frowned and asked. As he spoke, the sword spirit had already silently escaped from the tribulation space. He also used his mental senses to investigate. The strength of the sword spirit, as Chu Yang's strength grew, gradually unlocked the seal on his own strength. Now, he had already reached the early stage of the heaven stage, and was a genuine heaven stage expert. His strength was not below that of Teacher Cat. Therefore, the amount of mental energy he could use now was also abnormally huge, far greater than before. However, after the sword spirit, Chu Yang and Brother Tiger searched carefully, they did not discover anything. This was just an ordinary mountain, nothing more. It did not even have the eerie and creepy feeling that the so-called Cursed Land should have. Chapter 1804. Are these really dragon veins? Chu Yang asked. The sword spirit's body turned into a shadow and rose into the sky. He carefully checked the direction of the mountains before he landed and said, there are indeed 2 dragon veins here. However, although they are dragon veins, they are also a little damaged. They don't have much value. However, the surrounding mountains are a little strange. Hey! This should be the legendary realm of the God Source. But why is the realm of the God Source so dilapidated and desolate? It's really against common sense. Realm of the God Source. What's the realm of the God Source? Chu Yang asked curiously. Brother Tiger also gave him a puzzled look. Although he was very powerful and had been in the Heaven Imperial Court for quite a long time, he usually closed his door and didn't care about anything in this world. The so-called realm of the God Source refers to the terrain. Normally, when thousands of mountains worship and all the spiritual energy flows in a streamlined landslide, the place where all the spiritual energy finally gathers can be called the realm of the God Source. Normally, such a place would be occupied by a super big sect. Once it's occupied, it would naturally be carefully set up by experts. With such a place as the foundation, it can definitely be regarded as the origin of this big sect. It's very easy for a big sect with such a special geographical vein to produce expert. And because this place is the origin, it's called the realm of the God Source. The sword spirit was a little puzzled and also a little frightened. He said, under normal circumstances, the realm of the God Source is a special place that can't be destroyed, but this place has obviously been destroyed. I believe there should be a mountain at the westernmost position. It's the most stable place in this place. Although it doesn't belong to the realm of the God Source, it's the guardian mountain of this realm of the God Source. This guardian mountain won't have any changes even after thousands of years. Even a peak martial saint might not be able to destroy a piece of rock on the mountain. If it stays there, it can prevent the spiritual energy that gathers in all directions from leaking out. In other words, this can be said to be a natural array. In fact, all the realm of the God Source is a natural array. So, this place is also called a paradise. With the protection of the guardian mountain, the realm of divine source is considered complete. However, the mountain there has obviously been moved away by someone, causing the spiritual energy here to be completely destroyed and lost, and the feng shui of the realm of the God Source has also been completely destroyed. There was shock in the sword spirit's eyes. But, what kind of existence is capable of destroying the realm of the divine source? What kind of strength was this? Only then can you move the guardian mountain? What kind of person? Was that why he could single-handedly resist a large sect with a divine source realm existence? What kind of thing was it? That's why this large sect offended such a powerful expert. The sword spirit took a deep breath. His tone was filled with puzzlement and doubt. Chu Yang was also pondering. He slowly said, "Sword spirit. Are you saying that there is no dragon vein here? And there was only a broken divine source realm? Am I right?" "Yes, that's what I meant." Chu Yang took a deep breath and continued to ask, "Then things are clearer now. Since there was a realm of the divine source here, then there must have been a super sect here? Isn't that right?" "Yes. Since there was a super sect here, then this place is actually the remains of a super sect, right?" "Yes. Since it was such a super expert who destroyed this sect and destroyed the realm of the divine source, I believe that super expert would not be interested in the things left behind by this sect, right? Generally speaking, that should be the case. Since that's the case, there must be countless treasures left behind here. According to common sense, that should be the case. That should be the case, right? That should be the case, then it's too obvious. The purpose of the Jiangdonghua clan is definitely not to transplant the dragon vein, but to excavate the treasures left behind by this large sect. Am I right? If that's the case, that should be the case. It could be heard that the sword spirit's answer was getting more and more hesitant. But after all, he still gave a definite answer. As for Brother Tiger, he was already dizzy from Chu Yang's series of yes or no questions. Although he was not the one who answered, he also felt that this was really too complicated. It was better to let those people with complicated minds have a headache. He simply did not think at all. He lay down on the ground and stretched comfortably. Chu Yang breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Since that's the case, the goal of the Jiangdonghua clan can be confirmed. But I have a new question." The sword spirit said, "What is it? Since there used to be a super sect here, how could no one in the entire Heaven Imperial Court know about this?" "That's the first question." Chu Yang said, "Secondly, this place is not far from Xixia City. How could no one know that this place is actually a relic? Thirdly, even if it's a long time ago and no one knows this secret, you can see that this is the realm of the divine source, but others can't. Why didn't anyone have any doubts about this?" Each of Chu Yang's 3 questions was sharper than the previous one. The first 2 questions may have been buried because of the long time. Whether it's true or not, it can't be determined. The sword spirit said, "As for the third point, I believe that there are not many people in the entire Heaven Imperial Court who have such foresight. If I hadn't heard the Lord mention it a few times when I followed him back then, I wouldn't know either. Without a certain standard, it's impossible to understand things at this level." The sword spirit said very honestly, "Actually, this is still not within the scope of what I know. I only know 10 times as much. Also, after this realm of the divine source, everything has changed after it experienced destruction. The surrounding mountains also don't have that kind of aura. Normal people wouldn't suspect anything." Only then did Chu Yang's doubts dissipate a little. This way, it could be barely explained. Since that's the case, Then where is the real existence of this relic? Chu Yang asked. This should be in this infinite boundless mountain. The sword spirit smiled bitterly and said, I'm also just guessing. Because this infinite boundless mountain is the most central location within a radius of thousands of miles. In the past, it should be the place where spiritual energy gathered the most densely. Of course, this is inference based on common sense. Chu Yang nodded silently, acknowledging the sword spirit's judgment. Yes, those people of the Hua clan must have taken a fancy to the hidden treasure of the infinite boundless mountain. However, they were not sword spirits, and did not have the qualifications to learn from Xue Leihan. Then, how did they know? How could they be so sure that the thing they were looking for was in this infinite boundless mountain? Chu Yang thought for a while and said, let's search this place first. There was no point in thinking too much. No matter how the Hua clan found out, they definitely knew about it from the current situation. And the Hua clan's actions were very cautious and secretive. They obviously wanted to take all the spoils for themselves. Then, could they really have taken all the spoils for themselves? Chu Yang faintly felt that this time, it might be an opportunity. Sword Spirit, if this place is found, and the seal that has been sealed for so many years has been removed, or rather, seen the light of day once more, what will be the reaction? Chu Yang asked. This, I really don't know what will happen. This is very difficult to determine. The sword spirit shook his head. Yes, if the world knows that there are relics and inheritances here, what will happen? Chu Yang asked. Then, the world will definitely be in chaos. The sword spirit smiled bitterly and said, although the current Heaven Imperial Court is not inferior to any other time in terms of strength, there is one thing that must be confirmed. That is, some of the supreme techniques of some ancient supersects have already been completely lost, so such relics have reappeared in the world. Just by looking at the surrounding terrain of this infinite boundless mountain and the traces of time left behind, we can basically conclude that this relic is at least 100,000 or hundreds of thousands of years old, or even millions of years old. That is to say, since this sect has a divine source realm expert, it is possible that it is one of those ancient supersects. The supersects of that time had countless supreme techniques and inheritances. To the people of the present, those are all incredible treasures, especially those supreme techniques that have been lost. Even if their power is not much, when compared with the martial techniques of the present, there will be unimaginable gains. The sword spirit smiled bitterly and shook his head. If people know that there is an ancient relic with a divine source realm expert here, and that it is the kind that has not been discovered yet, then the entire Purple Cloud City will become the center of a storm in the entire Eastern Royal Heaven. Even supersects from other realms will come here. By then, this place will become a complete meat grinder. Countless, tens of millions of people will die here. The sword spirit sighed deeply. This kind of relic is definitely not something that any sect can ignore. No sect can ignore it. Even if they can't get it themselves, they can't let their enemy sects get it either. Once this happens, it is very likely that many years later, their own sects will be wiped out. Therefore, no matter whether they want it or not, they will all come. They have no choice but to come. I believe that no matter if it is a big sect or a small sect, as long as they know of this news, they will all come, and as long as they can freely travel between realms and break through the seals of the realms to come here, they must at least be experts of heaven grade and above. This is the minimum requirement. As for those sects that are further away, they must at least send out experts of martial saint level to be able to reach here in the shortest time possible. If those super sects send out experts of heaven grade, it is not impossible. The sword spirit's voice became heavier and heavier. He was very clear about Chu Yang's plan, but such a thing was really too risky. Chapter 1805. Everyone can think of this, and this is what Feng Yu is thinking. So, even if it's the nearest sect, as long as it has a heavenly being expert, it will make a move. The sword spirit clearly knew that Chu Yang was plotting against them, so he explained in detail. He reminded him earnestly, Sword Master, this is a life-threatening business. With our current strength, we'll die if we touch them. If we touch them, we'll die. If we touch them, we'll die. If we touch them, we'll be smashed into pieces. Chu Yang's lips curled into a half-smile as he looked at the night sky without saying a word. Saint-level experts are everywhere, and heaven-level experts are as common as dogs. Heavenly beings are fighting in the air. The sword spirit shuddered. There are even saint-level experts eyeing them covetously. This is a hornet's nest that no one dares to poke. The sword spirit was on the verge of tears as he spoke. That was because he understood Chu Yang's temperament very well. He was an extremely daring person. There's absolutely nothing that can make him feel apprehensive. There was absolutely no risk that he wouldn't dare to take, as long as the benefits were worth the risk. In the heaven-level continent, that person, who was no stronger than an ant, dared to point at the East Emperor Xue Leihan and scold him. And that was under the premise that he knew Xue Leihan's identity. Was there anything that such a lawless bastard wouldn't dare to do? But the consequences this time were really too serious. They could easily be wiped out and consigned to eternal damnation. The sword spirit had no choice but to persuade him with all his might. A hornet's nest that no one dares to poke. Chu Yang smiled amusedly and said lightly, "If I can take this opportunity to see all the heroes of the world, it would be a great blessing." "It's over," the sword spirit wailed in his heart. This guy is determined to get involved. He actually wants to take this opportunity to see all the heroes of the world. Heavens, is this for the sake of looking good? Let's split into 3 directions to find the exact location of this historical remains. Chu Yang said fiercely, "Even if you have to dig 3,000 feet underground, you must find it for me. Immediately, quickly, quickly." The sword spirit was speechless. He was in a daze and didn't move for a long time. There was a blackout. Brother Tiger jumped up with a meow. He excitedly said, "I'm most interested in excavating treasures. I'll go." He wagged his tail and ran away. The sword spirit heaved a long sigh. He had no choice but to search in the opposite direction. Along the way, he kept muttering, "Please don't let me find you. Please don't let me find you. Please don't let me find you." Chu Yang's body floated, and he chose another direction. The 3 directions of the man, the beast, and the sword spirit formed an extremely symmetrical triangle. Chu Yang searched all the way. On a mountaintop like this, the range of his spiritual consciousness was limited to a certain extent, so his search range was the smallest. And now that it was late at night, it was impossible for him to take out the calamity sword and dig it up with great fanfare. Therefore, Chu Yang only let ZJ go through the motions. His real hope was the sword spirit and Brother Tiger. After walking for a short distance, Chu Yang chose a relatively flat and smooth surface and sat down. He was prepared to slack off and take a break. But it didn't matter when he sat down. Chu Yang's chrysanthemum suddenly felt cold. There seems to be something wriggling and trying to break into the room. Chu Yang's hair stood on end. He jumped up with a whoosh, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Something was actually trying to burrow into Brother's place. He looked down and saw that the rock made by ZJ was still as flat as before. It was just an ordinary piece of green rock. Chu Yang frowned and looked left and right. He didn't find anything unusual. He reached out and touched it. Still, there was not the slightest response. He couldn't help but scratch his head. Damn it. It wasn't my imagination just now, right? Why would I have such an illusion? Chu Yang frowned and couldn't figure it out. After thinking for a long time, he still didn't want to give up. Finally, he tried to sit down on the green rock again. After sitting down, Chu Yang still held his waist, ready to spring up at any time. But when he touched her but carefully, he could only feel the cool sensation of the stone. He could not feel anything else. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and moved his buttocks closer to the rock. He still held his waist and was on his guard. But there's still no sign of her. Was it really an illusion? Chu Yang recalled his sitting position just now and pressed his buttocks on the rock. He didn't hold his waist anymore. Finally, that disgusting and dangerous feeling appeared again. Chu Yang screamed and stood up. His face was yellow, and he felt like he had just survived a disaster. That was an extremely strange feeling. Suddenly, a cold sensation entered Dong Xuebing's body from his back. Chu Yang's face turned pale as he exited and entered the rock. This. How could a fucking rock do such a thing? He walked around this strange rock and looked left and right, front and back and forth, back and forth. He didn't find anything strange. This was really strange. At this moment, Brother Tiger sent a message. Are there really relics? Are there treasures? Why didn't I find anything? Chu Yang hurriedly said telepathically, I didn't find anything. Come back quickly. I'm a little strange here. The sword spirit also came back at almost the same time. He also didn't find anything. Chu Yang's posture now was a little strange. He was bending his waist and sticking his buttocks out. A palm-sized kitten was squatting on his shoulder. There was also a guy with a form but no substance beside him. Look, this rock is a little strange. It's very strange. Chu Yang pointed at the strange rock and said. As for how strange it was, he was too embarrassed to say. Strange. How can a rock be so strange? The sword spirit was carefully inspecting the rock, but Brother Tiger shook his head and said, no matter how strange it is, it's still just a rock. Chu Yang said, it's really strange. After thinking for a while, he still didn't know how to describe it. He could only say, Brother Tiger, why don't you go up and sit for a while and feel it for yourself? But remember, if you feel something, come down quickly. Don't sit for too long. Remember that. Brother Tiger jumped onto the rock and walked back and forth. He said, it's not strange. What's strange about it? You have to sit down. If you don't sit down, you won't be able to feel it. Fine, I'll sit down. Have I not experienced anything before? Brother Tiger sat on the rock and looked left and right. He said, isn't it just a rock? What's there to make a fuss about? He hadn't even finished speaking when he suddenly exclaimed. He jumped up like a lightning, and returned to Chu Yang's shoulder in a flash. His small body was shivering, and his eyes were wide open. His eyeballs were protruding out. Oh my God! What the hell? This rock wants to rape me. Brother Tiger couldn't see it, but Chu Yang and the sword spirit could see it clearly this time. In the instant that Brother Tiger jumped up, there was an extremely thin wisp of black chi that quickly retreated from behind Brother Tiger's butt. It was like a faint wisp of black smoke that quickly retreated into the bluestone ground and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The rock was still a rock, as normal as before. Soul-suppressing rock. The sword spirit exclaimed. Chu Yang turned around and frowned. Soul-suppressing rock? Soul-suppressing rock? The sword spirit was stunned at this moment. He was shocked by these three words that came out of ZJ's mouth. After a long while, he said with a trembling voice, soul-suppressing rock. There's actually a soul-suppressing rock in this world. What the hell? It just appeared in front of me. Is there really a soul-suppressing rock? During this time, Chu Yang and Brother Tiger both spoke up to interrupt the sword spirit. They knew that the sword spirit needed some time to recover from the shock in his heart. Soul-suppressing rock is a spiritual item. Wherever a soul-suppressing rock exists, there must be an earth-shattering treasure, the sword spirit said. Obviously, he still hadn't recovered from his shock. Wherever a soul-suppressing rock exists, there must be an earth-shattering treasure. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Yes. The sword spirit finally heaved a sigh of relief. But the formation of a soul-suppressing rock requires extremely strict conditions. First, there must be a specific environment. This environment must be the God Source realm, and it must be a completely sealed God Source realm. The seal here refers to a complete confinement. Even the spiritual energy of heaven and earth must be confined. In a complete confinement, even a soul that transcends the laws of heaven and earth will not be able to escape. This is only the first condition. The second condition is that too many experts must be killed in that specific environment. Note that the experts mentioned here must at least be at the saint level. Those below this limit, no matter how many there are not counted. The third condition is that the spiritual energy of this place must also be buried along with the deaths of these people, not leaving a single drop behind. However, even if these three conditions are fulfilled, it will still take countless years. Only after a long period of time, these spirits will gradually swell because of the chance to escape or dissipate. In the end, they will transform into some powerful spirit creatures. This spirit body that transcends the heavens and earth is suppressed by the heavenly Tao. When they are about to break out of the ground, a soul-suppressing rock is born, suppressing these powerful spirits here for a long time. The sword spirit let out a long sigh of relief. In other words, since the soul-suppressing stone has appeared here, then the treasures below must have been touched by someone. Also, the person who produced the soul-suppressing stone must have been a very powerful person when he or she was alive. Only then would he or she have the qualifications to cause such a change in heaven and earth. Chapter 1806. In other words, apart from being a huge treasure, this place is also extremely dangerous and terrifying. This is definitely a land of extinction where all living beings and demons are silence. The sword spirit sighed softly. Update P. Chu Yang frowned, thinking about the three conditions. But after thinking about it, he still felt that it was unreasonable. Completely imprisoning, killing all of them, and burying all the spiritual energy. No matter how he looked at it, it was a little superfluous. Since he had already decided to kill all of them, why should he bury the spiritual energy as well? I say, how can these three conditions be fulfilled? Chu Yang asked. To achieve these conditions, there are two ways to implement them. The first is to have enough hatred. They wanted to kill everyone here. Moreover, they had to make sure that this person's hatred had reached an extreme level. They were worried that even a dog wouldn't be willing to let anyone escape. So much so that before the massacre, they had to completely imprison everyone here to prevent anyone from escaping. After imprisons this place, he then carries out an extreme massacre, killing all the people and living beings. In the end, he is worried that he might miss something, so he simply buries all the spiritual energy here. Then, he also destroys all the feng shui outside, making this place look ordinary. Only in this way can he ensure that no one will be interested in this place. The sword spirit's expression changed, and he said, I've figured it out now. No wonder this realm of the divine source is so strange. It turns out that the destruction was only carried out after the massacre and the imprisonment. If not, how could the destruction be so thorough? Then what about the second implementation? Chu Yang asked immediately. The second implementation. Similarly, he also needs to have great hatred, but the person who did this has a considerable degree of sympathy for the target of revenge, so he used the method of respecting the enemy and completely buried this place. He buried all the foreign objects with him. Moreover, after a long time, this place can even form a strong group of ghosts, which is equivalent to letting his opponent survive in another form. Although the soul-suppressing stone was created to suppress ghosts, it has a limit. As long as the ghosts form a strong enough force, they can break through the restrictions of the soul-suppressing stone. When that time comes, the strength of this ghost should have reached the stage where it is not afraid of the rules of the world and can ignore the different paths in the netherworld. It can live freely in the world and cultivate in another way, becoming a calamity spirit. This kind of calamity spirit can only survive after passing the heavenly tribulation. Then, he would be able to transform back into a human. Moreover, he possesses a powerful strength that is hard to match in this world. The sword spirit gritted his teeth. Hissing sounds came from his mouth as he said, but this is only limited to legends. Firstly, we need to pass through these layers of calamities. It was harder than ascending to the heavens. Secondly, the passage of time was enough to drive any undead creature crazy. If it's only a few thousand years, perhaps you can barely endure it. But if it takes tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years, and you still can't break through the soul-suppressing stone, then, no matter how strong your spirit is, you won't be able to endure it. In the human world, there have indeed been spiritual creatures that came out of the soul-suppressing stone before. But they were basically all irrational, ferocious, and brought disaster to the world. In the end, they were all killed and destroyed by the experts. There has never been an exception where the soul of a calamity turned into a human being. Not a single one. Chu Yang nodded slowly. Then, He frowned and pondered. The soul-suppressing stone is usually located on the surface of the earth. But there should be something to cover it up. It shouldn't be so easily seen. How did you find it before? The sword spirit asked curiously. How did he find it? When he heard this question, Chu Yang was a little embarrassed. He said, I walked here and then realized that my spiritual consciousness was restricted. I couldn't continue to spread it out. Looking for it didn't have any effect, so I wanted to slack off. Then, I saw that this place was very flat, so I sat down. The sword spirit opened his eyes wide and pointed at him. He was speechless. Looking at this place, the surroundings were very flat. The dense grass covered the soul-suppressing stone. It seemed that this was really a reason, however, the sword spirit couldn't accept it no matter what. Chu Yang's lazy sitting had given him a soul-suppressing stone. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? It was a little too much of a coincidence. Was this luck? Was it luck, or misfortune? Brother Tiger was at the side, smacking his lips. Really awesome, I really admire you. You came out with a soul-suppressing stone just by sitting down. This mountain covers at least a few thousand miles. A stone the size of a butt is not even comparable to the size of a shrimp in the sea. But you actually came out with a soul-suppressing stone just by sitting down. This is luck. I, Brother Tiger, also admire you, sincerely admire you. The sword spirit was speechless. He was in a daze again. Since ancient times, the number of people who had walked up to this mountain was not many, but it was definitely more than 10 million. So many people had searched the entire mountain, but they still could not find this soul-suppressing stone. But now, Chu Yang had used this method to find it. He found a treasure that was enough to shock the entire heavenly imperial court. How could he endure this? If those who had ascended the infinite boundless mountain were to find out about this, they would definitely vomit a few dozen tales of blood, dying of depression. Actually, I didn't notice it at that time. But I felt something drilling into my butt. Even though Chu Yang's skin was as thick as a city wall and as hard as a cow's butt, he couldn't help but blush. That situation was really too scary. That's why I studied it. Sigh tilde tilde tilde. The sword spirit let out a long sigh. Under normal circumstances, the soul-suppressing stone would definitely not behave like this. But when it gathers enough netherworld energy, it would naturally sense the yang energy outside. Once you sat on it, that abnormally strong vitality would definitely attract the cold energy inside, and you sat down on it. And you happened to have an entrance there. The sword spirit was speechless as he shook his head. The cold yin energy would naturally rush inside. Although the situation was unbearable and unexpected, it was still within reason. Black lines appeared on Chu Yang's face. He said angrily, "What do you mean by although the situation was unbearable and it was still within reason? When did I happen to have an entrance? What entrance? You're just spouting nonsense. Do you believe that I won't beat you up unexpectedly? It was within reason." The sword spirit shrank his neck. Although the sword spirit's strength had improved by leaps and bounds, he was still very afraid of a certain king of hell. Especially at this moment, when the sword master seemed to be a little angry from embarrassment. You understand it so well. You tell me clearly. Then why did it go back? Is it because of that cold energy? Chu Yang asked. Is this difficult to understand? When you left, without the attraction of the yang energy, the cold energy that came out would only end up being burned by the yang energy of the world. Therefore, as long as you left in time, the cold energy would naturally shrink back. If it didn't shrink back, it would be seeking death. It was probably just an instinctive reaction. The sword spirit said. If that cold energy really came out, what would happen? Chu Yang frowned and asked. I'm afraid the consequences would be unimaginable. The sword spirit shook his head and warned, you must not let it out. If it really came out, after a period of getting used to it, there is a great chance that it would become an unkillable monster. It would bring disaster to the world. This is not a joking matter, the sword spirit added. Chu Yang was deep in thought, but Brother Tiger showed a look of disdain. He rolled his eyes again and again. In this world, there is such a thing. Brother Tiger, I would like to see it. Even if it really became a monster, with Brother Tiger in charge, it would be easy to destroy it. In other words, that is a treasure. Or perhaps the great sect that had been destroyed was located at the foot of this mountain? As long as we go straight down from here, we can open it. Chu Yang said thoughtfully. In theory, that is right. The sword spirit said, but, since the power of the ghost can go in and out of the soul-suppressing stone at will, it is about to awaken. Then, he must have reached the point where he is about to awaken. If he hastily opens the remains, then the consequences. Chu Yang fell into deep thought. He was obviously analyzing the pros and cons of this plan. The sword spirit nervously accompanied him in his thinking, afraid that he would do something out of line and reckless. However, the two of them didn't notice that Brother Tiger had scurried over and circled the soul-suppressing stone twice. Then, he knocked on the door with a small front paw and tilted his head, his tiger head full of curiosity and exploration. He had a strong thirst for knowledge. The sword spirit had long been paying attention to all the movements in the surroundings, so he naturally saw Brother Tiger's movement first. He could not help but shout, "Don't touch this stone." Brother Tiger raised his head unhappily and looked at the sword spirit. He thought to himself, your master hasn't even said anything yet, and you dare to order Brother Tiger around? Is Brother Tiger someone you can order around? In his extremely bad mood, he simply sat down. I was caught off guard just now, but this time, Brother Tiger must sit down and watch. I don't believe that after I'm fully prepared, that chilling energy can still burrow into my butt and rebel against him. Of course, although he was dissatisfied, Brother Tiger also knew that this was a serious matter. In fact, he did not have any thoughts or plans to destroy the soul-suppressing stone, but the world was changing, and it was hard for everything to go according to one's wishes. As soon as he sat down, the cold yin energy suddenly rushed upwards with an unstoppable momentum. Brother Tiger rolled his eyes and used all of his yang qi to push down. I don't believe that I won't be able to suppress your yin qi. Thus, under Brother Tiger's butt, the two powerful forces, one yin and one yang, began to clash with each other. And this point, if one only looked at it from the surface, nothing could be seen. Brother Tiger's small but sat there. Although it was small, it was still tightly seated. After all, that place was just a small hole. Yes. While competing with that force, Brother Tiger rolled his eyes and looked at the sword spirit. What he meant was, didn't you say that I can't sit down? Brother Tiger wants to sit down. I want to sit down steadily and for a long time. Do you think I'm an ordinary person? What can you do? What can you do? The sword spirit was completely helpless against this guy. So he did not care. But who would have thought that just because the sword spirit did not care, Brother Tiger actually directly created a super big trouble that blew up the heaven. Chapter 1807. Finally, after a long period of consideration, Chu Yang decided to give up. Just as the sword spirit had said, the treasures here were undoubtedly very important. If he could obtain them, it would definitely bring him unprecedented benefits. But the risk he would have to bear was equally huge. Once those powerful spirit creatures were released, he would definitely not be able to bear the damage that would be caused. At that time, there might be corpses floating for thousands of miles, and the tragic situation of people being plunged into misery and suffering. Chu Yang did not want that kind of result to happen to his own hands. Chu Yang had previously considered whether he should use this place to attract the heroes of the world and then reap the benefits. But now, it seemed that he had to give up on this plan. The risk was too big, and he did not have the qualifications to reap the benefits of others. Chu Yang sighed and said, since the consequences are so serious, then let's not use this place. The sword spirit heaved a sigh of relief and said, yes, let's not use this place. Chu Yang nodded and said, since it's like this, let's be a good person to the end. Let's set up some illusion formations around this soul-suppressing stone. First, to ensure that it will not be discovered by others. If it is discovered by others, there is still a great chance that those terrifying creatures will be released. Second, when we are strong enough, we can come and take over this relic. Heaven has taken pity on us. Lord Sword Master has finally changed his mind. Although his heart has not settled, as long as it is not opened immediately, everything can be discussed. The sword spirit's heart was finally relieved. But at this time, something suddenly happened that made the sword spirit feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Brother Tiger squatted there, his whole body trembling. Suddenly, there was a bang sound. Brother Tiger let out an earth-shattering fart. Then, he suddenly jumped up and shouted, "That was close." He used his own energy to fight against the cold energy below. At first, he indeed had the complete upper hand, but after the cold energy below felt his suppression. At the same time, he felt that there was a passage that connected to the outside world. It was continuously gathering, and its power gradually increased, as if it was endless. As if it would never stop. In the end, it was as if thousands of horses were galloping, gathering from all directions. It gathered more and more, and became stronger and stronger. Although Brother Tiger's power was strong, there was still a limit. Especially now, his injuries were far from fully recovered. Although he held on for a while, he finally reached the point where he could no longer suppress it. Therefore, he let out a smelly fart and quickly jumped away. He wanted to force himself. He was about to be completely devoured by the cold aura. Just as he was about to speak. However, he was surprised to see that both Chu Yang and the sword spirit had a dumbfounded expression on their faces. Following their gazes, their target was the soul-suppressing stone. Brother Hu looked over and couldn't help but let out a strange cry. It turned out that there was actually a dense black aura gradually spreading over there. Furthermore, this time, there was also a faint red energy entangling it. Brother Tiger could tell at a glance that the faint red energy was his own energy. The two forces entangled on the soul-suppressing stone. "Quickly withdraw your power. Things might change if we delay," Chu Yang shouted in a low voice. Brother Tiger hurriedly agreed. "Okay." Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a very faint but clear sound. Pa. The originally smooth surface of the soul-suppressing stone began to crack at a speed visible to the naked eye. Following which, a series of subtle but soul-shaking noises could be heard. Pi 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 pa pa tilde tilde tilde. The two huge forces continued to fight on the soul-suppressing stone, one yin and one yang. Finally, the soul-suppressing stone was destroyed. The soul-suppressing stone that suppressed countless evil spirits, at this moment, began to slowly split. Chu Yang and the sword spirit were dumbfounded. Chu Yang and the sword spirit stared blankly at the unexpected change in front of them. They watched as a thin crack appeared on the soul-suppressing stone, revealing the inside of the holy light. Then, with a crackling sound, the entire soul-suppressing stone turned into a spider web. Following which, there was a soft bang sound. This soul-suppressing stone that might not appear even once in hundreds of thousands of years, had completely turned into powder and was completely annihilated. At the place where the soul-suppressing stone was originally located, a round and deep hole suddenly appeared. Unfathomable. Bottomless. In the next moment, waves of dense cold energy surged out from within. The sword spirit was dumbfounded. He muttered, "The two of you are really something. One of you sat on the soul-suppressing stone, and the other smashed it with a fart. Oh heavens, oh earth, what kind of fellows am I with? Help, oh no." Chu Yang reacted the fastest. He kicked a rock beside him to move, but he felt a sharp pain in his foot. In this Heaven Imperial Court, any random piece of rock actually had such hardness. Chu Yang had no time to be surprised. He had already gathered all his cultivation in an instant. He picked up the rock and smashed it into the hole. He wanted to block the hole. No. The sword spirit's voice was full of panic and urgency. But it was too late. The big rock smashed into the hole accurately with a bang. At the foot of the mountain, a few people were taking a nap in different directions. When they heard this sound, they jumped up at the same time and shouted, "Who is it? Who is it?" Another person said, "Someone is at the top of the mountain. Let's go. Let's go up and take a look." Yes, Fourth Master specially instructed us to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few figures rushed to the top of the mountain like lightning. Chu Yang smashed the rock down. When he heard the sword spirit say no, he already knew that what he was doing was inappropriate. But it was too late to change. The rock landed exactly where the hole was. But in the blink of an eye, the rock suddenly melted. And the black hole actually became as big as the rock. It was originally the size of a human head. But now it had become as big as a millstone. The soul-suppressing stone is broken. No matter what is used to block it, this passage will become as big as the thing that blocked it. The sword spirit said. He saw that the black gas and the extreme cold aura had already pounced in this direction with bared fangs and brandished claws. Go quickly. The sword spirit rushed into the tribulation space first. Go quickly. The great heavenly punishment thunder tribulation is about to fall. Before he finished speaking, Brother Tiger, who felt the terrifying power of the cold aura, had already bitten Chu Yang's wrist and flew up into the sky with a whoosh. Only then did he have time to enlarge his body. With a shake of his head, he threw Chu Yang onto his back. Chu Yang didn't have time to settle the score with Brother Tiger. He looked down dizzily and immediately cried out, "Oh my God!" He saw the billowing black gas. It had already covered half of the mountain and was still spreading gradually. In addition, he saw a few people rushing up the mountain from all directions. It looked like they were the people left behind by the Hua clan. In just a moment, those people had already rushed up to the top of the mountain and were immediately enveloped by the cold aura. What's going on? My eyes can't see. It hurts so much. Continuous screams sounded. The few people who had just rushed up to the top of the mountain quickly turned into dried corpses at a speed visible to the naked eye. After turning into dried corpses, they maintained the posture of rushing up the mountain and rushed forward for a short distance. Then, they tottered and slowly fell down. Just as they fell down, the moment they touched the ground, they turned into bone powder. Chu Yang saw that, and even his butt was emitting cold air. Among these people, the weakest one was an Earth-grade expert. There were even a few Heaven-grade experts. Any one of them was not weaker than a certain cat. At this moment, he had silently turned into ashes in this place, and the cold aura of the black hole was still spewing up like a volcanic eruption. Higher and higher. Looking from afar, it was like an even darker pillar in the deep night, gradually extending straight towards the blue sky. Thicker and thicker. After a moment, there was a thunderous sound in the distance. Dark clouds from all directions rushed towards here at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, the sky above was already covered with dark clouds. Almost without any preparation, a huge, rotating eye was already circling in the sky. As it circled rapidly, the eye of the vortex became deeper and deeper. That terrifying pressure from heaven and earth also became heavier and heavier. It was as if the entire mountain was going to be completely pressed into the ground. Brother Tiger saw that the situation was not good and shouted, "Oh my God!" With a whoosh, he carried Chu Yang and rushed out of this area. Being caught in the crossfire was not a joke. No matter how confident Brother Tiger was in his own strength, he did not dare to stay here any longer. That was a heavenly tribulation. In an instant, Chu Yang landed on the ground a few hundred miles away. Then, he heard a thunderclap from a place very far away. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. A purple bolt of lightning that had completely condensed into a solid substance, surrounded by dazzling and dispersing sparks of lightning, crashed down with a loud bang. The entire land shook with a loud rumble. Even Chu Yang, who was far away, was shaken to the point that his feet left the ground and jumped up a few feet. One could imagine the terrifying power that the core of the lightning had to bear. Then, one after another, the sound of thunder rumbled from the heavens, and one after another, continuous thunderbolts came crashing down without any interruption. Chu Yang watched with cold sweat on his forehead and shuddered. Look at this situation. This matter is really big. Chu Yang turned around and glared at Brother Tiger. This is all your fault. Brother Tiger's head drooped and even his ears drooped. Obviously, he knew that he had done something that he should not have done. From time to time, he stole a glance at Chu Yang and avoided his eyes. What should I do now? Chu Yang frowned and did not know whether to laugh or cry. This time, I've really struck it rich. Brother Tiger raised his head and swept his tail on the ground. He said weakly, "I really did not expect that thing to be so weak, just a fart and it exploded." As he spoke, he became somewhat self-righteous. "What soul-suppressing stone, it can't even withstand a fart." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.